Like this. Hit it.
The Roger Report live morning show, weekdays at 9 a.m.
Say y'all, I was on Roger's panel a few times and I couldn't take it. The heat. I got out the kitchen. It was hot. I was sweating. I had to get out.
He's Roger, and he's right.
Check this out.
We can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillars. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Roger Report Live, the best show on social media. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and take a moment out to hit that like button, because this is where you're going to find the best content on social media, and you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have me right here to make sure that happens. And if you've already been coming to the channel for a while, then go ahead and hit that like button, because you already know what time it is, and you know that this is where you're going to get the best content on social media. It's not a mystery to you at this point. You've seen other people do it. You've even seen some people do it well. But what you have not seen is anyone do it quite the way I do it. So make sure you hit that like button. And everyone, yes, everyone, take a moment out, share the content, y'all. There are so many people who need to get great content like this, and it's just a small thing you can do to help the world be a better place. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day? Don't we want the world to be a better place? Of course we do. So share the content out. Share it through your social media. Share it through word of mouth, or even text someone's phone. But do what you got to do to help spread the word. All right, folks. Today we are back. Another completely interesting situation we have going on over here. Here at the Roger Report Live, we talk about the things that other people won't even think to talk about. And if they think to do it, they ain't gonna do it to somebody like me do it, because they gotta know it's cool to do it. But we're gonna talk about, we give it the real over here at the Roger Report Live. So today, interesting thing, do politicians represent Americans or their own interests, y'all? Okay? That's what we're gonna deal with today. Do politicians, okay, represent Americans or their own interests? All right, that's what we're gonna look at right now, y'all. Who they represent, y'all? Who side they on? Okay, who what side they represent? Okay. Well, what's going on in their world? But before we get into this, let me say right now, shout out to all the people who come to the channel to give me consistent viewership. Shout out to all y'all. You know, I appreciate people who poke their head in here and there. And a lot of times, if you poke your head in for a good little minute, you're gonna be part of the fam. That happens, okay? But shout out to all the people who give the consistent views, who are clearly part of the family over here at the Roger Report Live. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to all the people who hit that like button on the way in. I know I got a few people who don't hit the like button already. Shout out to all the people who hit that like button on the way in, during the show, after the show. Before the show even starts, however you hit that like button, it's always a good time to hit that like button, y'all. Always a good time. Shout out to all the people who hype me up, okay? Do it every chance you get. Do it every chance you get. Shout out to all y'all for doing that. And shout out to all the people who leave comments after the stream. Very important. Helps with the algorithm. Appreciate you. And shout out to everyone who goes above and beyond the call of duty. The people who put a little something behind the Roger Report Live, our financial contributors. Shout out to each and every one of y'all. And I got to say thank you, especially to Black Ken today. He is the sponsor of today's stream. Shout out to Black Ken. Appreciate you big time, brother. Appreciate you big time. These folks, they do a lot of good here. They do a lot of good, and you can't say enough great things about them, y'all. Because people are doing something that they just don't have to do. And you got to appreciate that. Well, at least you should. I know I do. So shout out to Black Ken for being our sponsor of today's stream. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. All right, let me give a couple shots of some of the first people to check in, because when you start a show, it's always great to see a few people checking in as we get things going. So shout out to my main man, Trail Bentley, doing it again, representing the first one in the house. And y'all know how I go around here. If you've been around, we like to call that person the Highlander of today's stream. So shout out once again to Trail Bentley, who is the Highlander of today's stream. Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you big time. Representing as he always does. Hashtag long live the habitual line steppers. Hashtag Negroes in the wilderness. Hashtag dignity over vagina. Hashtag Al Gore's baby. Hashtag Hell Hydra. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. Appreciate you being here the way you are, man. Appreciate you being here. Shout out to the Great Black Reset is in the building. Great to have you. Great to have you. We got Floyd Thompson, who done pulled up a seat to the cool table. Yay. Good to have you, brother. Good to have you. Tunnel Runner is in the house. Great to see you, my brother. Great to see you. We got J Bones in the building. Great to have you. Great to have you. Aja Bay. That looks a. I'm wondering who it is. That looks a little familiar. The picture looks familiar. The avatar picture looks familiar. Now I'm wondering who that is. Shout out to Afro Merchant. Great to have you, brother. Great to have you. Inspired Truth Broadcast is in the building. Great to see you, brother. Gyogami is in the house. Great to have you, man. Ahmed Global, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Great to have you in the building. Great to have you in the building, y'all. We gonna discuss this, y'all. This is gonna be real talk, y'all. That's what we do over here, y'all. We do the real talk over here, y'all. They may not do it in other places, but we keeps it real over here, And I thought it was only fair, y'all. I thought it was only fair. If I was gonna do this type of broadcast, I say, you know what, Roger, you know what you really should do? You should throw your own man under the bus. That's what you should do. Just to try to show a little bit of impartiality, throw your own man under the bus, okay? Now, hey. Anybody who got something to say about me throwing my own man under the bus, hey, man, he's an elected official, man. It is what it is. I didn't tell that man to run. He ran. He's in office. It's good things and bad things to all types of things. The bad part about being a politician is people start saying stuff about you, whether you did a good job or a bad job. So, shout out to him, okay? Being some cannon fodder for today's show. So, y'all, I put a couple of links a few links in the description. Anytime you're watching the Roger Report Live, you always want to check the description, see if there's links in there. There won't be links in there all the time, but there will be links in there enough amount of time that it bears checking, so you can reference some of the things that that we're talking about, or to keep along with the conversation and how things are going. You may have some missing information if you ain't seen those links. Okay, so you got to make sure you see the links. Y'all, we had a thing this year, y'all. We in December of 2025 now. Okay, we in the last month of the year. Okay, people are gonna take different positions. This is where people start looking back on how the year went and things like that. You know what? This year, like other years, has been interesting. A lot of things have happened. One of the bigger things that happened this year was the record-breaking government shutdown. Yes, y'all, the record-breaking government shutdown. America said, you know what? We closed. We ain't worried about this right now. We ain't worried about this right now. We closed. That's what America said, y'all. You know, now who can close the country? Think about it. Who can close the country? I mean, if you want to really get technical, maybe somebody else could if they, take up war against your country or something like that. It has to be something extreme. Maybe a bunch of extreme weather happening across the country at the same time. Maybe that. But who really can close the country? The politicians, the elected officials. Shout out to all the people living outside of America, because I know it can be different in certain places. Some places very similar, some places can be a little bit different. But we are one of the places with elected officials. So what does that mean? Well, we vote these people in so they can represent the people who live in the country. That's what the intent is supposed to be. I'm going to vote you in so you can represent my interests because I'm an American citizen. Okay? And as an American citizen, I expect you to do a good job for me as best you can based on what the situation is. Now, that'll be a little different for different people who represent different places. If you are a representative of Hawaii, you may not be looking out for the same things as someone like myself who, you represent something in Illinois. Now, I live in Chicago, so somebody who represents Chicago interests could represent, it could be a little bit different than say you live in Springfield. There's a Springfield, Illinois, different places got different things that people need to pay attention to, but we have a House of Representatives and a Senate. These folks represent states. We got the president, vice president. They represent the country as a whole. You got a lot of folks making big decisions that affect little people in a big way. I'll say it like that. Not that anybody's truly little. I'm just trying to use language that people understand. Okay? The regular everyday person, your interest is supposed to be represented in Washington through the people you elect. That's supposed to happen. Okay? That's supposed to happen. Now, y'all, you can be for some things, you can be against other things, and you can also make sense of the things in front of you. Now, I'm a person who does not agree with any specified welfare. I think the government should just give general welfare, like the Constitution says, but there's a lot of specified welfare out there. Okay? Now, this is the thing. We got systems in place. The government shut down for that record-breaking 43 days. And as I learned, as I looked into some of this stuff, y'all, and you know what? It's good to be it's great to be a good content creator because it makes you look at stuff that you wouldn't necessarily get around to the way you should get around to it. Okay. So, looking into some of the stuff going on with the SNAP program, finding out that's attached to Medicaid, it's a lot of things attached to things. And you know what? I thought about something, y'all. I thought about something. Because, these people are supposed to represent the Americans, okay? The people, the individuals, we're supposed to be represented. With these decisions that politicians make, we're supposed to be in these decisions. They're supposed to be doing stuff for our benefit, our good. You know, you can wreck your own life. I'm not, look, let's just keep it real, y'all. You can wreck your own life as long as it's just yours. Okay? You can wreck your life. And I'm not tripping. Okay? It's your life. All right? I'm not going to recommend you wreck your life. But if you wreck your life, I'm not going to really trip too hard because it's yours to wreck. Okay? I don't think that's a good use of time. But it is yours to wreck. Now, once you start dragging other people into you wrecking something, my thing is like, you kind of bogus. Okay? You know, a person can have a terrible time. Why you got to drag your kids into it? You know, because I'm going to look at you with the side eye. If you're going to drag your kid into what you're doing, if you're going to drag your wife or your husband into what you're doing, and you ain't got no business doing it. And I'm saying you ain't got no business doing because, yes, a wife is supposed to be part of what's going on with you, or a husband is supposed to be part of what's going on with you if you're married. Okay? Why are you dragging your coworkers in? If you doing something that ain't no good, if you taking the risk of getting people fired, I mean, if you're gonna get yourself fired, that's one thing. But dragging your coworkers into it, that's something else. That's something else. Now, see, the thing is, as a politician, the decisions you make, you dragging all the people in it, whether they voted for you or not, because they still part of your constituency. So when you are president of the United States, whether you like it or not, you done drug me into it. Okay, if you're gonna drag me into something, drag me into something good. Okay, drag me into something positive. Drag me into something that's gonna be good for people and from a general standpoint. You know, I mean, I understand you can't fix every individual problem, but you're supposed to be dragging me into things that are positive. And y'all know what I thought about? I don't know if other people really thought about it. You know, somebody had to, I guess, but I thought about it, y'all. We had a 43-day government shutdown. And part of what was on the line was people eating, and there were people who needed certain things from a medical standpoint. And as I've thought about that, y'all, not that I necessarily even agree with people receiving welfare that's not general welfare. I just said, let me go and think about this from the perspective of a person who actually needs to receive this stuff that they have been conditioned will be there because this is how this American system works. Whatever this American system is, there's all these different systems that run in America that's part of an overall system. If I needed to eat, now I'm in a situation where I'm not able-bodied the way I am right now, or if I wasn't having a clear mind like I have now, and I'm gonna say thank God for giving me an able body and a clear mind. I definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. Hope I do you proud with it. That's real talk. But you know, you can think for yourself, you can move about, you can get things done or whatever. That's one thing. But if you're a person who actually needs to receive these different things that the government gives, whether I agree with it or not, makes no difference. What about the person who can't get up and cook for themselves? What about the person, for them to get up, it is a struggle? What about the person who can't be on their feet a prolonged period of time? What about them people who can get up and move around for maybe 14, 15 minutes, and that's a task in itself, and they whooped after that? What about the people who got real issues going on? The United States government. Now, I understand you're going to have people that's going to blame the Republicans. I understand you're going to have people that's going to blame the Democrats. My thing is, it was a joint decision. No matter how you want to put it, it was a joint decision. This is what they did. For 43 days, they told American citizens, even though we said we got you, we ain't got you. Now, it's one thing for me personally to sit through a government shutdown because they wasn't buying my food. They wasn't buying my medicine. I wasn't running to the doctor every other week. But when you have things like that in place, and you have people who become dependent upon those things, and then all of a sudden you just say, "No, you straight." And the person who has to hear this got to be like, "No, I'm not straight. That's why I'm on the program. I'm literally not straight. You telling me I'm straight, but I'm not straight." 43 days, y'all. 43 days. Now, I just want to say, I don't know the individuals' names of all the people on the different programs. I'm not going to act like I know that, but I'm going to act like I know this. If I truly needed food or some form of medical supplies that Medicaid was taking care of for me as part of the system, I am pretty sure that after 43 days, some people died. Now, you may not hear that on your news, on your local news, your national news, whatever the case is. You may not heard nothing about it, y'all. But if you depend on the American government to feed you, if you depend on the American government to pay for your medicine, to pay for your doctor visit and things like that, do y'all really believe that after a 43-day disruption, somebody didn't die over this? And I'm sure there's multiple people who died during that 43 days. That 43 days when the American government said, F you people. Now, I'm just being a realistic person. Okay, forgive me for thinking about it from the perspective of someone who actually truly needed that stuff. I know people say, well, some people be scamming, people trying to quote unquote finesse the system and all that. I understand you're always going to have your bad apples. I get it. I get it. What about the people who ain't the bad apples? What about the people who are living in some type of condition that they truly needed that? What about the people who don't have a bunch of family and friends to rely on? They can't even get in and out the world the way most of us can. What about the forgotten people? Okay, the people just forget about because you don't see them on a regular basis. What about the forgotten ones? Now, some of them might have family who may look out for them a little bit here and there. People, quote unquote, do what they can. People is making real decisions, and the people who think about these people may not be the people with the most money, may not have the most time, may not be able to visit the way somebody would like them to. Some of them were some older people. Okay, family doesn't necessarily live in the same state. What about them people? What about the people who really medically needed the United States government to come through? I don't think much of us thought about the people who died during that 43 days. And their death is a direct cause of the government getting together and saying, hey, screw the American people. It just ain't that serious. I would rather take a huge political position and put my foot down here and here and say, F every American that needs our help. And let's not get this thing done. And let's shut this government down. Now, this is the thing, y'all. Do y'all really believe that any politician involved didn't truly understand what was at stake? Because we can believe all types of stuff. We can believe in fairy tales. We can believe in religions. We can believe in aliens. We can believe in all kinds of stuff. Well, I guess the government said something about aliens to kind of verify the alien thing. But there's things that have been unverified that we can choose to believe in. That is our personal right. We can choose to believe in all types of stuff. Do you truly believe the politicians in position to make the decisions that can keep a government open, keep supplies coming, keep the medicines coming, keep the healthcare going? You really believe that they didn't understand that there are actual Americans that are really dependent upon this stuff? Now, y'all can say, well, some of them are just a bunch of rich jerks. I get it. I wouldn't even argue with you about that. Are rich jerks amongst them? Sure, I'm sure somebody is a rich jerk and don't care about the people like that. Now, what I didn't see coming is a bunch of people say, hey, for 43 days, we can all be rich jerks. Now, I understand you gotta sometimes make people see what you're talking about. I get that. But 43 days for the people who need it? Oh, y'all know they did, right? Y'all know they did, right? You know, I want the people who are alive to really actually have a thought about the fact that it was some folks out there who truly needed that stuff. They're an American citizen. They believe that they were either entitled. Some of them truly believe they earned whatever they were getting. And them folks they in the box right now, y'all. Some of them folks is in a box right now. That box has been buried. Some of them folks have been burned, cremated, as they say. They ain't around no more because they had to go 43 days without government assistance. All I'm saying is that's a long time. Okay? That's a long time to go without assistance when you need it. Now, did everybody not know? Did some people find a way to get past this retention of food supplies or medical supplies? Yeah. Some people got past that. Yeah, there were some people finessing the system. They just had to do something else for a while. But for the people who truly got caught up and they are dependent, yeah, I'm sure some of those people are good and dead at this point. Now, the question is, who killed them? Did they kill themselves? Or did the politicians indirectly kill them? You tell me. Because if I can't get out of my house the way I need to, heck, I'm on government assistance. I'm probably in some small apartment or something like that. I can't run to Walgreens. I can't run to CVS. I can't run to any local pharmacy and get whatever it is I need. And even if I could get there without my government assistance, I can't afford it no way. So going there on my own wouldn't even do me no good. But hey, maybe I was in the military for a while. Okay. Maybe I filled out the right paperwork because I just got a medical condition where I just can't get by on my own. Never could. Some of them folks dead. Now that's a real thing. And I understand people may say, what you want us to do? The people who dead don't need you to do anything at this point because they dead already. They don't need you to do anything at this point. Best you can do for them is remember them because they already dead. Now, I'm saying this on their behalf because they're dead and can't say it for themselves. That's one of the reasons I'm saying it. They already did, so they can't speak for themselves to us right now. They did already. How you gonna do them people like that? Okay? How you gonna do them people like that? All right. Now, shout out to the mayor of Chicago. Okay, shout out. See, I ain't just gonna say stuff about people. I'm gonna get certain people. I said, let me throw my own city under the bus right now. Well, at least the mayor of the city. Okay. Y'all, I put that link in there about prostitution. All right. Shout out to Inspired Truth Broadcast, who made me aware of this link. Little link about prostitution, right? Got people trying to live their lives, do their thing, and they got to deal with prostitution just getting out of control. Now, I hope y'all notice in that link, the politicians made decisions about prostitution. Okay, they made some decisions about prostitution. And they weren't even going after the prostitutes, y'all. They did not go after the prostitutes. They said, let's get the guy who would use the prostitute service. So I'm really not trying to fight crime because I'm not going to go after the criminal. I'm not going after the criminal. Okay. That's what I want y'all to notice. I am not, as a politician, going after the criminal. Even though we want people to believe we're tough on crime, we're not going to go after the criminal. Who's the criminal, y'all? Who's the criminal? You're doing a prostitution sting. Who's the criminal? Who is the person that has a living breaking the law? Who is the criminal? Now, this is the thing, y'all. Everybody done did a crime here or there. That don't necessarily make you a criminal. But if crime is your lifestyle, you are a criminal. It is what it is. If your lifestyle is crime, you are a criminal. So what did the government decide to do? All the politicians who get to play their part in this, what did they decide to do? They said, we're not going to even go after the criminal. We're going to go after the person who bought from the criminal. Now, let me get this straight, y'all. Let me get this straight. You want me to believe that you're trying to stop criminals from doing criminal activity, but you arrest somebody after the sale, but you're not arresting the criminal. Let me try to think this through, y'all. Let's just say I was a female and I was a prostitute. Okay, I'm out there on Cicero. Okay, that's the highlighted spot they put over there, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I accidentally picked up a prostitute on Cicero once, y'all. I've said stuff in the past, before. I've accidentally picked up a prostitute on Cicero when I was way younger. I came through, I guess, at the wrong time of night, and I picked up a prostitute myself. Now, I didn't know she was a prostitute. I didn't know she was a prostitute. So it's like, hey, I ain't got all that. I didn't know you was out there like that. She was pretty too. She was actually pretty. Beautiful woman. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful woman. I thought I was finna get me some play. She was a prostitute though. All right, well, it is what it is. Okay, that ain't what I stopped for. Okay, I ain't stopped for no prostitute. So this is the thing, y'all. You got men out there who I'm sure knew they were prostitutes. I'm not even gonna front like they ain't know. They went to go see the prostitute. They went where the prostitutes are. Okay. Now I'm thinking, okay, this is me, y'all. I'm the female. I'm the prostitute. I'm out here giving up the box. I get my little $40 or whatever I'm paying or whatever I'm charged. I get my little $40 or whatever I'm charging. Now, what happens? Okay, the police run up on us. I got my money because I'm charging my little $40 or whatever it is I'm charging, right? So I got my 40. The police come over. They detain me because I'm a female prostitute. They detain me. I got my $40 and I got detained. They do their little investigation and they decide to arrest the guy. Okay. All right. They arrest the guy. They ain't arrest me. They detain me. What that probably mean? They probably had me stand there for a little while. They probably asked me a few questions and I get to go on my way. Okay. I get to go on my way. I get to put that box right back on the market. Okay. Shout out to the Great Black Reset. He's saying, we know you didn't know she was a pro, Raj. But how much did she charge you? Asking for a friend. You are hilarious. You are hilarious. I do know what the price was, though. She did tell me that. Y'all, it's been a couple times I picked up prostitutes and didn't know they were prostitutes, okay? So I know what the prices are. Back then, she told me it was, if my memory's correct, I believe she said it was $60. So now you can tell your friend that she was charging $60. If you go back to Cicero right now, she might still be out there. It was years ago, but she might still be out there. $60 a little expensive for a prostitute, if you ask me. But I'm sure your friend got it. I'm sure your friend got it, okay? All right. So, but real talk, y'all. You the prostitute, you get detained. You asked a few questions. I don't know. Maybe you get detained for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and then they let you go. They don't arrest you at all. They go after the guy. Okay, they go after the guy. Now, I ain't tripping that you went after the guy. It is what it is. But you don't do nothing to me. I got this box for sale. You can come arrest him because he paid me to get the box. Now, I don't know how the police gonna let you do. Is they gonna let you slide with the money or not, or whatever the case is? But all you do is ask me some questions, and then you let me go. Does this sound like a crime deterrent, y'all? Y'all think about this. The guy who came to buy some, he don't have a criminal lifestyle. He just wanted to get some. Somebody was selling some, so he went to where the people were selling it to buy what he wanted to buy. This don't sound like the person I got to worry about from a criminal activity standpoint. This don't sound like my problem. Okay? If I'm the resident over there and I got kids playing in the yard and my kids keep finding condoms in the yard, is my problem are you random John? Or is my problem the prostitute who keep bringing people back to my yard? I mean, let's be realistic about this, y'all. Because to me, the random John ain't telling people come into my yard and do the do. Or ain't doing the do in a nearby alley and then throwing the condoms into my yard. And then my kids are finding the condoms. The John ain't doing that. Okay? Now, you might say, well, the John had the condom on. Yeah. But the John ain't the one bringing people to my yard. You know who doing that? The prostitute. So we trying to clean up crime. Why are we arresting the John? Now, I do believe the John is getting arrested so they can get some money. Y'all heard what the cop said. If you saw that link, well, he said about $1,000, right? Okay, about $1,000. You get to impound a car. People got to come get their cars. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough situation. I had a car towed before. I think a tow, well, it wasn't for nothing like that, but I remember I got a boot on the car. It was like you paid $150 you pay $150 to because they had to tow your car, so that was like $150 fee. It was a $60 fee, I think, for taking the boot off. If you can beat them before they tow it, you got to pay them like $60 to take the boot off. And in Chicago, you got 2 tickets that basically past 30 days, you can get a boot. So it's easy to get a boot in Chicago. All right. Now, I don't know what it's going to cost you if you are caught, quote unquote, involved in a crime at the time. I don't know. Maybe $250 or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So you're making money off the guys because they're going to pay whatever fines they got to because they got, quote unquote, caught committing this crime, of getting up with the prostitute. So the city making money off the Johns. The city is detaining the women and then letting them go. And you see the state of Illinois decided, hey, prostitution, we're going to make that just a little class A misdemeanor. That's what we're going to do with that. We're not going to make that a big issue. You can sell the box and that's really not that big a deal. You just can't buy no box. That's tough on crime? Is that how we being tough on crime? You can sell the box, but you can't buy the box? The criminal's still there, man. The criminal is involved. Okay? The criminal is cool, but the guy who bought the thing from the criminal. So if somebody stole the TV, they can sell the TV, but I can't buy the TV. The person who broke into the home and stole the TV is bad. Oh, excuse me, they're not bad. But if I buy the stolen TV, I'm bad. This is a politician who cares about the people? Okay. Come on now. You know, come on now. This ain't making no sense to me. All right. Now we talked a little bit yesterday about nursing, right? Okay. Whether you see a nurse differently or not, whether you see even the people in the other fields differently or not, I don't think we ever came to a conclusion where the politicians were doing something that's quote unquote good for the people. All right. They changed what a professional degree would include. Did they do something good for the people? Because that's who the politicians are supposed to represent. They're supposed to represent the people. All right. Now, I ain't tripping. You know, I understand I live in a world that's, there's some shady stuff already going on. It was some shady stuff happening when I was born. It'll be some shady stuff happening more than likely when I die. Okay? I doubt the world gonna get its act together just for my death. I don't see that coming across. But I am gonna say this. As much as we said about all that about the nursing thing yesterday, did we really come to a conclusion that the government did that for the people in any way? Like, how did it help the people? There's all types of decisions that I made that don't seem to help the people. City of Chicago, y'all, we have parking meters, y'all. We got parking meters. All right. At some point in time, if my memory is correct, they signed a deal about parking meters in Chicago. And you know what I found out? The money from the parking meters don't even go to the city. I always assume that whatever money you gave to a parking meter, or if you got a ticket because the parking meter ran out on you and then you got caught up in the game, I figured all that was going to the city. Now, I would assume the ticket money still goes to the city, but the parking meter money don't go to the city at all. And they sound like this, it was almost 100 years, if my memory is correct, because I did a story on this once. And the money from the parking meter don't even go to the city. Why am I paying somebody to park in the city of Chicago and the money ain't even going to the city of Chicago so they can do something about something in Chicago? Why is it going to some business that ain't got nothing to do with the city? Well, a politician signed off on that deal. Okay. Woo, shout out to the Great Black Reset. He say the money for the city bus doesn't go to the city either. Now, I don't know if he's talking about Chicago or somewhere else, but wherever you talking about, that don't make a lick of sense. You getting on a city bus paying for public transportation and the city ain't making no money? Now, if it was a private bus company, I get it. Okay, I definitely, if it's private, I'm not even tripping. If somebody wants to put their own bus company out there, charge whatever they want to charge, and go around picking people up and dropping them off where they want to do that at, I ain't got no problem with it. Maybe you want to charge $1. I think it's in Chicago, I think it's much higher than $1 at this point. I remember prices like $1.75 to get you a transfer. I think I remember it going up to maybe about $2 or something. Maybe that would get you a transfer, or $2.25, something like that. I don't know what it is now. I probably need to go check. I don't know what it is now. All right. I ain't saying I ain't been on the bus or public transportation. I just didn't look at the price, just because it wasn't by myself. I ain't look at the price. Okay. So I don't know what it is now. But if you collect the money with city on you, for me, it would be city of Chicago. I would think that money would come to the city of Chicago, and that would help with whatever money that the city of Chicago needs to pay out. And we got folks who run us into debt and all that good stuff, y'all. Y'all do have y'all noticed that cities across America, for whatever reason, major cities across America, it's a trend to be in debt now. It's an actual trend. It's almost like if you're not in debt, you don't know what you're doing. Now, that don't make sense to me that politicians would make moves to get a city in debt. That don't make sense to me. Okay. But hey, I don't know everything. I can admit that. I don't know everything. It don't make sense to me though. But that's how they got it going right now. If you live in a major city, I bet you if you look up what's going on with your particular city, I bet you find out your city's in debt. When I heard that Chicago was in debt, I just couldn't understand how that was possible. It took me a while just to accept that the city of Chicago is in debt. Like, how you put a city in? How you put the city in debt? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But the politicians sign off on this stuff, y'all. You can't be in debt unless they sign off on this stuff. Now, again, if you mess up your money, I ain't tripping. That's your money. You earned it. Do what you want to do with it. Okay. A lot of guys have asked me before, Roger, what you think about tricking? Man, it's your money. What I'm supposed to say? And y'all know there's been many a black guy who has tripped about somebody, quote unquote, tricking their money off. Y'all know that type of stuff happens. Okay. Shout out to all my hosts a lot of time. He say, how I get back in the States, and this is what you covering, man. Hey, man, timing is everything, man. Timing is everything. That's all I can tell you. But y'all, I'm starting to think that politicians might just be anti-American. Okay. Shout out to Guillermo. He say it's because Ebony K. Williams owns the bus company. I guess it's an Ebony K. Williams type of deal. Okay, I guess that's what's going on with that, y'all. All right, y'all. I got two guests coming up. I'm about to give it over to my favorite Kryptonian. It used to be Superman. I guess he ain't my favorite no more. My favorite Kryptonian. This is America. Is in the building. He gonna get the mic first, and then we'll give it to Cicero. Cicero Ab Research Team. We'll give it to him next. Go ahead. This is America. How you doing, brother?
I'm very well, Roger. Happy Wednesday.
I'm
Wednesday to everybody. So, I love America, man. I don't know about you, but I love America. I love it because if you got money, you can buy more money. You can enslave people. You can decide unilaterally to downgrade those funky degrees. You can increase the what is called the interest rates. This is a cool country, man. I love it. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good for the people who don't get it. But if you got it, you can buy influence. You can be on an island somewhere. This is amazing, man. This is heaven on earth, man. What are you complaining about today? Huh? Are the politicians working for you? Who are you? Who are you, the people? Hmm? You people, bunch of nobody. You ain't got no money like that. You ain't got no power like that. You ain't got no influence like that. Why should they work for you? Why should they work on your behalf, huh? Hmm? All you do is voting every once in a while in election, voting for the quote unquote two parties, which is pretty much the same thing. One is Coca Cola, and the other one is Diet Coca Cola. And you think you're doing something, huh? And you want to complain that they don't work for you. You ain't got money like that. You're not investing billions of dollars in lobbying. You know what I mean? They ain't got to work for you. Why should they work for you? They got to make money. They got to pay for homes. They got to make money to go on Epstein Island. They got to get their $40 holler. So why should they work for you? You don't pay them enough. So you think the little money that you pay those politicians, the little $300,000 a year, can do something? Hmm? That's that's breakfast money. That's not the real money. Why should they work for you, Roger? Hmm? Explain to me.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to get into that as the show goes on. But if you asking me why people that I vote in office to represent me should work for me, I think the question gives the answer. That's what I'm gonna say. But I'm gonna let the Cicero Ave research team get his word in before we go there.
I'm, Fellas, today I'm here to speak up for all the little Johns of the world. Hey, what they're doing in Cicero ain't right. What they doing ain't right. See, if I was the mayor of Chicago, I'd get us out of debt immediately. We just need to block off an area of Cicero, and we charge $20 a head if you're not a resident to enter into this area. It's a tax. It's just a tax for the city, man. This $500 and $600 and towing your car, that ain't right, man. Just hit, I'm lobbying for us to get a $50 fine if we get caught. $50 fine. See, a man can stand that, and you can keep up your repeat business. Now, I'm on the way to Chicago right now as we speak, leaving the great state of Texas. I got 10 fresh $20 bills. I am coming through Cicero. I don't expect to be harassed and don't pay no attention to the harem I'm going to have hanging out the doors of my truck. This is a beautiful thing. This is a beautiful thing. And if they would have just went on ahead and kept this thing shut down for 60 more days, it wouldn't be a $40 holler. We'll be down to the $10 holler. They messed it up for us. But we got to get these fines down to $50. We get these fines down to $50. I think we're gonna be all right. And that's from the Cicero research team. I'm there for research purposes only. And I land my plane right now.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that, brother. Hopefully, because I'm connected, I can get a little bit, a little bit of information on some of the research.
I got you. I will be filming and doing a documentary. It will be available for consumption soon, sir.
Yeah, well, yeah, that street Cicero. It's a great street, though, y'all. I'm gonna advocate for the great street of Cicero. It's a great street, y'all. I believe if you live in the Chicago area and when you got you a new driver, you put them on Cicero, let them drive up and down that a little bit. Boom, they get to learn a lot. That's how I learned how to really drive. Once I drove on Cicero up and down, boy, boom, boom. Then I just hopped on the expressway, no training. Boom, I was good to go. Because why? Because I ride up and down Cicero. So Cicero has its positives, okay? It has its positives. But, if we want to stop crime, okay, because that's how they present it, like they want to stop crime. I didn't understand why the Johns would get arrested, but the people who are actual criminals would just get detained. That don't sound like the politician trying to help me stop crime. If I'm the resident that got to deal with that, okay? Because they show a couple residents who live in that area. They not helping them people. I don't see where they helping them residents at all. Okay.
The residences are not taking proper action. See, you need to build a privacy fence around your yard and put a door on the side of it and charge for entry. They looking at this wrong way.
Says
Let me let me
they
let,
can.
let me let me give all you future people a little bit of advice. If you go for the $40 holler, bring a camera with you. If you ever get caught, you're gonna get caught filming. You're gonna think that it is just a corn movie. We're shooting a movie, Mr. Officer. That's it. Ain't got nothing to say to you anymore.
Hey,
What?
the team, the research team does not pay for these type of actions. We just pay her to leave. Now, what she did before she left, that's on her.
Now I'm gonna say this, y'all. Now I also threw a link in there where you see estimated value, estimated net worths of politicians.
Oh man,
Being a politician looks extremely lucrative. That's what I'm gonna say.
I'm in the wrong business.
I think we all got told the wrong thing because I don't remember nobody telling me as a little kid, you should think about being a politician. That's where the money at. They said it was in all kinds of other stuff. It seemed to me that the money is in politics. That's what it seemed to me. Based on what was going on and based on some of these estimates, yeah. I mean, this sounds like it's better than an NBA career. I can be a politician longer than I can play in the NBA. I can be a politician longer than I can play in the NFL. You know, it seemed like everybody told me the wrong thing to pursue. I should have been pursuing politics the whole time. You know,
Yeah.
when you
Ain't,
look at the
ain't,
money.
ain't that something? The morale in the game in America is laughable, to say the least. Now, you're in a country where you got boosie popping heifers who can marry each other now, but heaven forbid, a man would just want a $40 house. Hmm? He's the worst of them all. Now, the boosie popping heifers, no, don't touch them. Mm-mm.
All right, we got demonetized abroad who's joining us. Let's see what he got to say on this. Demonetized abroad, you have the mic, my brother.
Listen to me, man. How many times I told y'all in my name that all my hoes are demonetized? This is for legal purposes, for all of y'all to understand the routine when it comes to dealing with these 304s, man. All my hoes demonetized. Remember, y'all must say that for all legal purposes. Put it in your hashtag for every contract, whatever you got to do. But I'll vote Kev for president for 2028. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank
And if you vote for me, Donald J. Slap, you can get your $40 house.
Well, the thing is, y'all, because I do want to, there's a conversation to be had here about much bigger things because, again, when we started off with the government shutting down for 43 days, if I'm the citizen that need the stuff, if somehow I live past this 43 days, because I understand, y'all, you got people who finagling the system some kind of way. But what about the people who didn't? Like, man, I can't eat for 43 days, or I can't get my medicine for 43 days. Is there a medicine that you take that you ain't got to do at least once a month? Does that medicine exist?
I, I think this highlights a bigger social problem. Is if you went 43 days without something that would prolong your life and you passed away, you had a family problem. Because and we've been talking about this for months now. It's the breakdown of the family structure that's the real problem. So yeah, we do have people that do need these social services and things like that. But if you have a family structure around you in conjunction with with the social structure around you, your family is gonna see you through that time period. Because we know this government shutdown ain't gonna last forever. That's why it's important to have a nuclear family and an extended family that are good to each other and will look out for each other. So I think that's what that highlights for me is the breakdown of our social family issues.
Well, I think it does also highlight that. I do believe that. But I'm just gonna say, as an American citizen, I kind of like the idea of the politicians in America working for the Americans. Do we even expect that anymore?
No,
What are they doing where we can look at them and say, "Oh no, the politicians generally work for us." The politicians are generally doing the things that we think need to be done. They're generally doing things to make our situations a little bit of a better situation. Now, yesterday bankruptcy was mentioned, and I did say the politicians are literally making rules where people can do the exact opposite of what the politician is supposed to be for. Because a lot of people either was never taught or don't realize, or maybe they just forgot that the reason you have a government is to stop individual people from just going at each other. I make a deal with somebody, they make a deal with me. We got a contract in place. Now, one of us don't want to fulfill the contract. We go to a government body so they can make a decision. So I ain't got to take somebody's head off. And that's how it was literally back in the day. That's what used to happen. When you have a dispute, you just go kill the other person. Government was supposed to be put in place, so the answer is not just going to kill the other person. It's let's make some decisions. What will be good? Let's have somebody make a decision who's supposed to be fair and impartial. Now, the fair and impartial third party supposedly is now telling people you ain't got to pay. We like how your lifestyle is. We like the stuff you got done. So all these deals you made with these other people, because we like you ain't got to pay none of that.
well, as a people, and this is all nations, nationalities, and colors. Um, we're not as astute and aware of how the politics work from the local level all the way up to the national level to figure out what buttons we need to push and what levers we need to pull to get the politicians to do the things that we want to do. We think, oh, we just gonna vote for them every 2 years, or we just gonna do the national vote every 4 years, and that's it. No, there's ways to get involved. There's ways to get things done. There's ways to lobby. There's ways of putting your money together as a collective people and putting it toward certain things and getting people to see your personal agenda through. And we're I believe we're purposely not being taught those things. There's a select few that is actually being taught those things, and it's usually at the academic level once you get to college and things like that. And they keep that for the people that they want to be in power. And we gotta break through that and start educating the masses on no, this is how we actually get done what we want to get done.
Yeah.
Well, and also, do not forget, besides the money, you got to make sure that you have pictures of them laying in bed with underage girls and underage boys. And make sure you got that also. And a list, a big list.
That's that's what the Cicero research team is for, sir.
Yeah, if you could come up with some damaging photos, hey, it is what it is.
Hey, hey, you see they got Epstein up out of here because that's what he was doing.
I was gonna say they'll use it against you in a heartbeat, a literal heartbeat, real talk. You know. So my thing is this: with the stuff that's going on, do the politicians work for Americans anymore? Because now as the election was going on, now we lost that channel, so I don't have the footage. But as the election was going on, I made it very clear that I was a very anti Kamala Harris person. Okay. One of my
Hmm.
major issues with Kamala Harris was the fact that she was cool with all this illegal immigration. I understand that the money you give to an illegal immigrant is money you cannot give to me. You can't spend the same dollar twice. So everything they get is something I don't get. Now, it's hard enough to get the money without the illegal immigration being an issue. You see what I'm saying? It was hard enough to get money then. But now you giving my money away in my face. That's something I just couldn't ignore. And it's just real talk. I mean, not to mention the fact that she never really gave a one good political reason why she should be president in the first place. And all the problems that she was talking about she was going to solve. She was literally vice president at the time when these problems were coming up. So she literally had the power to do something about it. Plus, with Joe Biden's mental condition, which we really are very unclear on, we just saw signs of trouble. It seemed like she was already running the country because Joe Biden didn't seem like he could. And that's my perception of it. I don't have his medical records, but it didn't even seem like Joe Biden had a head together to run the country. So Kamala was already running, on the low.
Okay.
Kamala don't seem to care nothing about it. Me as an American, I don't even see the cross her mind.
All right, but Roger, let me tell you this, Mr. President. He also said that y'all need these H-1B visa recipients because y'all don't have the local talents to make things, to manufacture things and all that. You know what I'm saying? So on one hand, the other side wants quote unquote open immigration. But on the other hand, the one in power, he said, "Oh well, y'all don't got the talent. That's why we got to bring them here."
Well, I'm gonna make this clear. I got no problem with anybody who came over legal. But if you give me an excuse about we needing somebody, it's just an excuse. We don't need anybody. This is the thing about talent. When it doesn't exist and it is necessary, it's created. That's what happens in the real world with talent. Let me drop you off, you and a group of your friends. Let me drop you off on a deserted island. Guess what people gonna instantly start doing? Figuring out how to do stuff.
Yep.
People who ain't never did it before gonna figure out how to make a fire.
They're gonna get real talented real quick.
Yeah. People who ain't never fished before gonna figure out how to catch fish. So, I mean, I'm not saying you wrong. What I am saying is anybody telling me that you need another country to bring talent over, to me, is just an excuse. I was raised in a world where excuses don't mean anything. Somebody kept constantly telling me excuses are worth 2 dead flies, meaning they don't mean anything. I can't give you an excuse about something. I can tell you a reason why I did or didn't do, but I really can't give you no excuse because I don't believe him.
The answer actually lies in your original question of do they work for us? No, they work for the wealthy Americans and the corporations that pay them. Hence, that's why they want to bring in this cheap talent because it makes more profit for these organizations. The organizations pay the lobbyists. The lobbyists then pay the politicians, and it's a vicious circle. So middle class and lower class Americans will push out of the quote unquote democratic process. So no, they don't work for us.
Now I'm gonna say this: my perception of lobby, okay, to me it sounds like legal bribing. That's all it sounds like to me. Legalized bribing. I can't personally bribe a cop, but you can bribe the Congress.
Hey,
y'all see how that sounds? I get pulled over. It's illegal for me to bribe a cop, but if you own a corporation, you can literally send a lobbyist to bribe the government. You can bribe Congress, but I can't bribe a cop.
Again,
it's lobbying, sir. It's called lobbying. I'm gonna lob this money over there to you.
You know what it's called?
It's called
This
bribery. Ain't that what that is? When you pay somebody to do something that you want them to do? Ain't that bribery?
This is America.
I mean, if they're not supposed to be doing it, that's what a bribe is, right?
Nah, come on. We do plenty of things that we're not supposed to be doing.
I mean, I get caught speeding. Okay, they call me speeding. I say, look, officer, look, man, look, don't nobody know you caught me but you. I can slip you this $200 right now for your pocket, and we could just let this whole thing go. Now that ain't how it's supposed to work, you know. Heck, I'm gonna end up paying $200 anyway. Time, money, dealing with getting the ticket or whatever. It's gonna cost me something anyway. I just put this $200 in your pocket. You just let me go, and we don't deal with this at all. What's the difference between that and sending a lobbyist to Congress?
Well, the difference is you're just a citizen. You're not an elite. Matter of fact, if you were an elite, you wouldn't even have to give him $200. You just say, let me call the commissioner right now. You'll be all right. You're nobody, sir.
Hey man, you
Look,
got three options. You can be the best, you can be first, or you can cheat. It's up to you, boss.
that's a heck of a way to say it. That's, that's a heck of a way to say it. But as a when you in this type of system where we are electing people, you know, there should be some level of rules to it. I do agree with that. But then I also agree that people should follow the rules. Now I'm gonna say shout out to Gold P because he's jumping on me in the chat right now. He's jumping. I see you, Gold P. I see you, Gold P. Shout out to you, brother, and I appreciate you big time. Gold P hits me with the 5.95. He say pay your taxes, Kel. I didn't mean that. Okay. Now I don't know what's going on between y'all when he said I ain't mean that. Obviously, there was something between y'all. And I'm gonna say this real quick, y'all, because this came in like right after I got off air. But shout out to Elder Blood, who actually sent $10 yesterday, but it just came in kind of right after as the show was going off air. He said for the black women's nursing jobs starts at home, not with Zaddy. Now I'm gonna say that's a good way to look at things. You know, if you're gonna be a nurse, definitely take care of your home first before you're out there taking care of everybody else's home. And that's just real talk. So shout out to you, Elder Blood. I'm sorry I couldn't get that in yesterday, but it kind of came in as the show was going off the air. So my apologies about that. Okay. And let me say real quick, all my hoes demonetized. He said it's micro versus macro. Bribery is singular and only changes one problem. Lobbying is macro, changing systems laws that affect many.
Touche, sir. Touche.
He said this question about money. Let me get my expertise. Let me get my expertise and give a legitimate answer to that question. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Well, you know what? Sometimes you got to take care of the micro before you take care of the macro. and that's real talk. But I will say this. I do want my politicians to work for me. I don't think it's right for my politicians to work for a bunch of other people and not for me. And I understand some people, you know, I get people saying, well, you know, or they working for the corporations. The corporations ain't me. They are not even real people. They are entities that real people allow to exist. If we
Well,
allow them to exist, they should be viewed as sub to us. We real, they're not. So who should come first? The people or this unreal thing that we allow to exist?
the people absolutely should come first, but the people have to know that they are important enough to come first, meaning they have to do the things that they need to do to force the politicians to come first. We can't be waiting on the politicians to have goodwill. You know what I'm saying? That's why, the small hat community, they use their money and influence to put the people they want in place to do what they want to cover their agenda. They pay for these people to run for office and all these type of things, man. It's the golden rule. He who has a goal rules.
So we need to bribe people that we voted for.
Absolutely. They'll get
And
used to it.
now I understand that's the American way. I'm gonna say that's part of the problem, though,
Well,
because
we live in a problem.
well, I mean, we do, and I do believe we should correct the problem, but there's ways to go about correct the problem without having to do a new problem. Because if I gotta vote for you, and then I gotta bribe you, I got too much I have to do. You just shouldn't be in office.
Well, there's certain things that you can do. Well, we look at it from the national level first when we should be looking at it from a grassroots level, from the local to the state level, and then you work your way up. That's how it's done. And at the local level, you could run for office quietly. You ain't even got to do it real big. You get your constituents together in your area. You have meetings in homes and stuff like that. And say, look, man, we're gonna surprise them. This is what we're gonna be doing, and you move as a collective. That's how you get the old politicians out and get new politicians in. But we don't do the work at the local level to get it up to the national level in time to make those necessary changes, if that makes sense.
Well, I also think we as Americans just don't do simple things that will create reactions from other people that's in some of these power positions. Because honestly, y'all, I'm just being realistic. Honestly, I do my best to avoid voting for anyone that is a Republican or a Democrat. Now, why do I do this? Because for my whole life, Democrats and Republicans have been in charge. For my whole life, people have been complaining about what politicians do. For my whole life, I've seen politicians do a bunch of stuff that I totally disagree with. And for my whole life, when I look up who are the people making decisions that hurt me or my peers, the general public, y'all know what they happen to be listed as? Democrats and Republicans. So I don't understand why we giving anybody who's willing to represent that office any real consideration. Now, I will say this. I'll vote for a fake Democrat or a fake Republican, somebody who's really not that, but they say, okay, well, I'm going to run as this so I can get certain things in place that they can't necessarily get unless they run as a Democrat or Republican. I get that. If you're going to do that, cool. I understand.
Yeah,
But
that's Donald Trump. That's Donald Trump. He said that when he was on offer years ago. He said if he ever ran for president, he would run as a Republican. He was a staunch Democrat at the time, but he said the Republicans are so stupid. If I ran as a Republican, I would get elected. He said that like 30 years ago.
he did actually say that. I remember something about that myself. So he did say that. But I'm saying that there's people who want to do the right things in politics, but they know unless you're a Democrat or Republican, you're not going to necessarily be able to get in the debates and things like that. You're not going to be really seen the way you could, especially pre-internet. You wouldn't be seen out there like that. So, you really don't believe in it, but you run as a Democrat or as a Republican so you can get the light on you. And that's what it was more of that than anything else.
Yeah, we can get you to run for mayor of Chicago. You can run as a Democrat, but have your own agenda. I think you'll have a good shot at it, bro.
I definitely could do. I couldn't do no worse than the mayor we got now. That's for sure.
I don't think anybody could, brother.
but Black Uru has come up, so let me go ahead and get him the mic. Black Uru, you got the mic, my brother. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, Roger. I hope you and the gentlemen on the panel, folks in the public chat, are doing well. Where you come up in Chicago, where you were driving down Cicero Avenue, and didn't know you were pulling up on a hook.
See, I was gonna let that slide. I wasn't even gonna say nothing. But
No, that was my young days, y'all. That was my
Well,
young days.
well,
That was,
you were really young.
nah, that's like some 18, 19-year-old stuff. That was some young days.
You were babe in the woods, man.
Exactly.
It's been hookers on Cicero Avenue since I've been in Chicago, man.
Yeah. And real talk, it was right about 43rd Street. It was and that ain't even no joke, y'all. It was right about 43rd Street.
From white hookers to black hookers to Latina hookers, black to white hookers. It depended, starting from north to the far end of south. So you were raised well, I guess, if you didn't know what you were dealing with.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say she was pretty too. You know what I'm saying? Real pretty, nice eyes, everything. I wouldn't have believed she was a hooker. You know, I just wouldn't have believed.
Just gotten started. You know, she probably was a runaway from someplace in Wisconsin. One of those deals.
Yeah. She might have been her first week or something. You never know.
Well, with all due respect, whenever somebody says that, you're about to be insulted. So, I've run for office with several offices a couple of times, and I've mentioned this, I'm sure, on your channel and elsewhere. And when you run for office, you develop a different view and perspective of politics, and a very different view of politicians, and a very different view of citizens. You end up having more respect for politicians and a lot less respect for citizens, because you realize how much of what you're risking to run for office, and how, with the rare exception, the reward is not going to be commensurate with what you're risking for office. Very few offices in the United States pay a whole lot of money. Almost none of them pay money that is equivalent to the responsibility that you are assuming. People complain about how much people get paid in Congress, but it's a penance in compared to the responsibility that a congressperson or a senator or even president has. It's almost nothing. It's below, proportionately, it's below peanuts with respect to the responsibility. The guy with the nuclear launch codes get paid. How much the president gets paid? $500,000 or whatever. The guy with the nuclear launch codes, So when you get some insider perspective of the process, again, how difficult it is, how much you have to expose of yourself to run for office, how great the responsibilities are, how you will get blamed for things that, like even the current mayor of Chicago, I look at him basically kind of bearing the burden of decades, of generations of graft, of all manner of thievery, all manner of public and private manipulations, and the various union extortions amongst all the civil servant, all accumulating to where we are now. The largely white business and ownership class of the country, of the county, Cook County, sort of pushing down the financial responsibilities to the county, to lower earning people, And then people say, well, why do you have a deficit? Well, that deficit certainly was not created during, or everything behind that deficit was not created based on any decisions that Brandon Johnson made. I'm not evaluating his mayoralship, I guess, but almost everything he's dealing with is based on decisions that are really outside of his actual purview. Even the issue regarding the immigrants, that was a top-down federal issue, largely that he kind of caught, and Chicago kind of caught. So I have a different, and like I said, and I guess I'll end my opening statement here. When you run for office, and maybe I wasn't fortunate enough to get elected, but I'm sure this is the case after you get elected. When you are a politician or attempting to be a politician, you just tend to have a lot less respect for citizens, because you realize that the majority of people are advocating their responsibility for the society upon a small population of people. So that's kind of my opening view. I have some more things that I would say that would kind of fill that in, but that's kind of my opening statement there.
Okay. Interesting. And I'm glad you bring in that perspective, because, a counter perspective is always good. Now I'm going to say, do citizens do enough? Probably not, because I've said before plenty of times, the average American citizen is not politically savvy enough. We just not. And we need to accept that and, actually take it upon ourselves to become a little bit more politically savvy. Honestly, I appreciate the fact that I am a content creator now, because it does force me to look at certain things in politics that if I wasn't a content creator, I probably wouldn't even look at. And I can be honest enough to say that, so do we do everything we supposed to do? Probably not. I don't even think we come close. But now, do I look at what the politicians do and say certain stuff gonna have to be at their feet? Yeah. Because if you in the seat, you in the seat. That's just how I look at the world. If you the person in the chair, then you got to deal with the responsibility that comes with that chair you hold. If you the coach of a basketball team and they not winning, yeah, it's your fault. I know you're not a player. I know you can't get out on the court and actually put the ball in the basket yourself. But if you coach the team, that's you in that seat. And I got to deal with how you run that seat. And you either got the job done while you're in that seat, or you didn't get the job done while you were in that seat. That's on you. If you don't like it, you shouldn't have sat in the seat. That's all I can really say on that note. So if a company falls apart, I am going to blame the leadership of the company. CEO, I'm looking at you. Managers, I'm looking at you. If America is falling apart, I got to look at our managers. Who are our managers? The politicians. To me, it's just on them to make sure the right things happen. And a lot of things are happening that don't seem good for the American people, which is why I threw our mayor under the bus. Because when you look at this politician, you look at what they're doing about prostitution from a political perspective, they're not even trying to stop it. It looks like they're trying to make money off of it to me. I don't want to stop John from coming over to Cicero so they can get some action. What I want to do is make money off the Johns. That's what it looked like to me.
Well, in recent years, Roger, there's been a lot of politicking, a lot of both statutory and judicial precedent behind issues involving trafficking. And because of the trafficking issue, a lot of the approach to dealing with prostitutes have been from this perspective of this person is a victim. This woman, usually is a victim. And there's a lot of federal backing to that position that extends even beyond the United States, because trafficking is largely now this sort of worldwide issue, diplomatic issue, uh, uh, social political issue. You hear about trafficking, through Europe and the Middle East and whatever. And so the approach to used to be, when I was young, it was, there's a hooker, this is criminal, there's a pimp, there was sort of a light kind of punishment, but not so real punishment of the John, really. There was more a focus on the hooker and especially the pimp. The pimp had a stereotypical black face. Those of us of a certain age can visualize how that used to look, and we kind of see it sort of somewhat caricatured in some of hip hop music to some degree. Bishop, Magic Wand, that kind of thing. But that change, especially in the 90s, Violence Against Women Act, and a lot of decisions that are being made on this issue now are from the perspective of the woman being a victim and not being a criminal or a villain. And so because this is a crime, but she's a victim, then who are the obvious villains? Well, the obvious villains are any pimps and any Johns around. And so that's how it's that issue's kind of morphed from the woman being a criminal, or at least part of this criminal thing, to she's this helpless victim that was forced into it, especially if she started out prior to reaching her legal majority. If she presumably started out, as a 14, 15, or 16-year-old, hooking, then she is almost like forever basically under this victim status, because everything she's doing is a product of what happened to her as a child. So that's kind of how that is being viewed and handled in a lot of legal jurisdictions, federally, county, and municipal level.
Ain't that something? Gambling is legal. Two Boosie Poppers can go down there and buy a marriage certificate. They sell cigarettes knowing that cigarettes will cause cancer down the line. But the worst thing you filthy Negroes can do is buy the $40 house. Morality, huh?
And I'm going to say real quick before I give it to truth teller, it's the politician's fault that the criminal was seen as a victim. Politicians did that. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's just another problem they create. Now,
wait a minute. And I don't mean to step on truth teller's toes here. I know he coming in. But corruption can only exist where corruption is invited. There has to be an environment that allows the corruption. See, I think we're putting too much on the politicians, because if we were a people of goodness and good morality and all this other kind of stuff, and we had a corrupt leader, man, we get rid of them. They used to call them assassinations back in the day. When they weren't doing what the people wanted them to do, the people get rid of them folks, man.
Well, I mean, we're in a country where you don't even have to assess them to get them out of power. All you got to do is vote against them.
Now, Roger, no, I disagree with you. You gotta make an example out of them so that the next guy who gets voted in knows what's going to happen to them if they fail. Now, they don't get to mess up the situation and then roll up their sleeves and leave. No, you're gonna get baptized before you leave.
I want to be clear. We're not promoting violence or nothing like that.
Let's let Truth Teller get in, because I have some commentary about what you guys are saying. But if I get going, it'll.
But they just don't want to respect Truth Teller. That's all. They don't want to respect Truth Teller.
No, man, let my spirit animal in here. I know it's gonna be good today.
Use the man. What cut them off?
I know it's gonna be good. I had to get in there.
Come on, truth teller.
I just came in here to say I am so disappointed in y'all. I don't know why you want to complicate Hold'em out here in these streets. Y'all know we need hoes.
That's
Ain't nothing
Roger.
wrong
That's
with
Roger.
hoes. It ain't their fault. We just okay, yes. We got some low bearing ones. We know, they're leaving some stuff on the street and stuff like that. We need to send them to y'all vocational school, the Roger Uru Shark Sims vocational school of Hold'em, and everything will be fine. It'll be cleaned up, it'll be orderly, it'll be appropriate. Y'all ain't doing what y'all supposed to do to keep these hoes in check. And I'm disappointed because I don't think you should be blaming it on the nice, peaceful officers and the politicians of that community who just want hoes to be successful. That's all they want to do. And I will vote for a politician who want hoes to be successful. I have no qualms with that. You guys go ahead.
I mean, bro, you could just have one hotel where the people just go handle their business in the room and everything's taken care of. You keep some order. You ain't got to be all up in people's backyards. You ain't got to be throwing condoms
Thank
all
you.
over the place.
Thank you, Roger.
There's a lot of stuff that they could do
Yeah.
to clean that whole
Well,
situation
but
up
you
that
have
they're
to,
not doing.
as far as throwing the condoms around, that part in particular, I got to put on the John, not on the hoe. It's your condom, it's your spunk that's in the condom. Why are you throwing it out of the car? Nigga, put that shit in a paper bag or a plastic bag, Ziploc bag or some shit and take that shit off with you. I mean, why are you being that nasty with the whole thing? It's your stuff.
Urak, I'm disappointed in you, Elder. You cannot talk like that about the main supporter of them hoes. Uru. You can't.
Here's my point. You create
They
an
fund them.
you create an environmental issue by doing that, and you make it easier for people to target what you're doing. The cleaner you are about that, the less likely you're going to catch fly. In fact, a lot of times that's what's happening. A lot of times the heat that's being brought down on the situation is the environmental impacts that these dudes are doing with all that stuff. It ain't what's going.
Quick question though.
It's your 4-year-old kid picking up a used condom.
That's why
I
the
hear you.
citizens got to get involved. The
Well,
citizens
actually,
have.
hold on, y'all.
Go
Hold on.
ahead.
I think y'all misunderstanding. I don't know about y'all, but I ain't never went to a restaurant, ate food, and cleaned the table too. I'm just saying. If you provide me a service, it's your job to make sure your work environment is cleanly for the next customer to roll through. I don't want
Well,
to be
look,
blaming dudes for managing
do I think
the whole track.
Do I think the classier hookers probably do kind of make a point of trying to be clean? But here's the other thing too, and this is what I mean, man. If I were doing that, when I was out here on the streets back in the day, I never left my condoms with any hoes, man, with no women.
Yep.
Oh, same here.
I mean,
Same here.
that was a major no.
Still is.
Either it was getting flushed or it was going with me, and then I figured out it probably wasn't a good idea to flush them. They were going with me.
Man, I'm telling you, the citizens are missing the opportunity. You build you a privacy
All
fence.
China boys.
You charge them hoes. You order your portable wash station back there, and so they can clean themselves up. Man, listen,
A little shower
listen,
with a hose so they can
man,
wash their privates.
look at here. Come on, bro. I'm telling you, if you make it where they can do their thing with a reasonable amount of decency and some self-respect, they can walk up out of there with it. Man, all the hoes coming in your yard, and they gonna keep it clean. Put you a garbage can back there for them to throw away their stuff. Man, listen, man, you'll make you some money, man. The pimp be mad with you.
Well, I'm gonna say this though. There's literally no reason for them to be walking that strip doing that kind of work at this point in time in modern times. So I'm really gonna have to put it on them Because if these chicks can actually make wax songs, put it online, make money, get naked online, make money. You telling me they can't print a business card and rent a room in a certain area
You
and get
walk the street.
clients?
You walk the street for the impulse buyer.
That's called Backpage, bro.
You walk the street for the
It is.
impulse buyer, truth teller. You walk the street because the brother just got off of work and he frustrated about some shit, and and I got to go home to this bitch. And what's the chick that Roger was talking about that he said claimed he didn't know was is walking down and she's young, fresh on the blade, and I'm just gonna pull on over in this alley. That's why you walk the street.
Man, my yard is for rent if I'm living on Cicero right now. I promise you.
All right, let's let Shark get up in here, y'all. Let's let Shark get in. Whole Tech Institute is in the building. The Whole Tech Institute is in the building. He has the mic. Go ahead, my bro.
How y'all doing? I'm about to be on my Dr. Umar campaign so I can make money to build this school. Okay? Make money to build this school. Make money to build this school. But on the real, I feel what Kev's saying, yes. But at the end of the day, you could just get a couple of tents from Dick's Sporting Goods, put them joints up in the backyard, and now you got a little city back there making some money. Now, to what Truth was telling about why they walk in the street, the chicks that put up them rap songs, it's men that's helping them put all of that stuff together and putting that infrastructure for them together. The chicks putting they coochie up on the internet, that's a man made that possible for them. They out there doing that because that is the easiest thing to do, and they are not under the guidance of a man putting them onto a plan. You dig it? And it's crazy to me that these is probably the same women that'll be online telling Roger he ain't shit when
Yep.
they on their off hours, right? Now
Probably.
as far as the government, they probably doing it live while they walking down the street. But as far as the government, I think America's been sold out after Kennedy got assassinated. I think they've been selling America little by little by little by little by little. And the inside scoop was get your money while you can, because this thing ain't gonna last forever. You know what I mean? Because I seen the documentary where they was talking about Joe Biden was doing so much underhanded stuff with China, him and Hillary, like to the point where they sold half of America to China already. We just don't even know it yet. So, and then as far as what you were saying about the lockdown, you know what? Niggas voted for that because I only care about my people. Niggas voted for that. Niggas voted for that. Niggas voted for that. Niggas voted for that, and that is what you get for just voting for niggas, voting for people because they black and they supposedly giving you free stuff. Now you see what kind of free stuff they was giving you, because they was literally doing that to hold balls and to
Facts.
so they could be able to bring in slave labor for the corporations. And all any black person talking about, oh, these people should be able to stay in here, you don't you should get slapped in your face, because you're basically supporting slave labor all over again. The only difference is these people are getting paid. When you was a slave, you got paid in food and sheltering. But that is exactly what they're doing to these immigrants that's coming over here legally. They are using them as slave labor. They have them picking strawberries for 15 cents a pound, and then they sell it in the grocery store for $13 in trade. Like that's exactly what's going on. But America's been sold out. And my fault, I went on my Go P. I did my Go P time in 2 minutes 38 seconds. I apologize. I
It's
land
all
my
good.
I land
It's
my
all
plane.
good.
I
It's
land
not
my
like you're gonna be a habitual offender. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like some folk.
I
Like
went
some folk. Wait,
I
I ain't
went
gonna say
go
no name.
I went Gold P on them for a second. My bad.
I'd like to advertise for the Whole Tech Institute. We now have a managerial and administrative program for those who want to manage these hoes and be successful in life. Come on and join.
Yeah, we need
Figure yourself
professors.
out.
We need
And I,
professors.
I I'll be running the research team and the Cicero Ranch development team. If you want to develop a ranch to put these hoes on, I'll show you how to do
Chef
Well,
Mike
you
work in the
know,
cafeteria.
Shark or Hotep, I think you make a very compelling argument, sort of triangulating what is happening back to Kennedy and kind of on a related, or just when he left office, Kennedy's predecessor Eisenhower warned us in his exiting as he left office about the danger of the military industrial complex that had developed, especially post World War II. So, you can directly connect that to all of the influences and intrusions into the political system, and how, America, certainly starting in World War II and sort of everything after, has been this sort of military, uh, um, where we spent trillions of dollars. Much of that, almost $40 trillion debt that we have is military related, or related to military security, espionage, a whole lot of money invested in everything sort of related to the militarization empire of America. And you can definitely argue that, and maybe his assassination itself was in part to sort of open up the country to sort of the wholesale selling out to the corporatization and the oligopolies of this country and the world. So I think you make a valid point there.
You know what, Uru? That was oligopoly. You gonna be head of English at the whole institute? Just letting you know that was the wild word.
Can't
it.
nobody argue that.
He gonna be the professor of the refined hoe.
The Jack and Jill hole.
Yeah. But no one really wants hoeing, so to speak, to go away. Like, nobody really wants hoeing to go away. It's just, what's the social political leverage it will be used to enforce. If we want to gain more control over and dominion over men, and be in a position to gain greater advantage over men, well, men like to fuck. So let's control all aspects of men being able to fuck. And let's control them through wives, girlfriends, domestic, blah, blah, trafficking. Let's create a whole apparatus. Let's create a whole matrix around how we're going to use their most basic, essential impulse to control them, and that's through our sex. And a lot of this, where you have supposedly growing numbers of young men who are sexless and girlfriends, I think to some degree it's an involuntary response to what it's a involuntary survival response that's happening, where you don't necessarily consciously know something, but sort of subconsciously, this is being used to get me. And I think that explains why you have many young men who are beginning to retreat into other things as a sort of survival thing.
I definitely believe that the climate has brought this about because the women have turned uh, dating and marriage into a purely transactional, and the guys, a lot of men have just said, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore, and let it be transactional. And with the economic climate that we have now, and what women are suffering from not having jobs, man, this is just a natural course. It's just a natural course, man, and it's spilling out into the streets.
Well, see,
Actually,
I'm gonna say this. At the end of the day, they need to just simply make a decision. Either they want it to be legal or they don't want it to be legal. If it's cool for it to be legal, you can have it done in a good professional way, and they can collect their taxes off the money, and everything's fine. But to me, that's just the home is just one small thing that shows that the politicians aren't pro-American anymore. Yeah, no, my thing is we need to figure out who they pro who. Because based on action, I don't think they pro-American. And it seems like to be a good politician,
What does it mean to be pro-American?
I mean, be pro the American people. That's what I'm saying. Be pro the American people.
That's it.
You started off, Roger. That ain't even the same meaning, son. I don't know what you're talking about now.
Actually, really.
I don't know what you're talking about right now. Pro-American people. They ain't been pro-American people since the government started.
Never been being pro-American.
The American people aren't even pro-American. We over here talking about free Palestine and gay rights in Palestine, and we need to let more illegal immigrants in. We not even pro-American.
You know what? Regardless of what the American people do, I mean, they have a right to be pro all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with America. They have their right to express themselves in whatever way they want to. But when it comes down to it, if you're the politician, you literally work for me. It's your job to be pro me. It's your job to be pro American people.
People are not pro themselves. How can you expect? You expect them politicians to be God, that they're going to assume a responsibility over your well-being that you yourself are not willing to assume.
Yeah, that's like smoking crack and talking about, God got me. No, nigga, you need to stop smoking crack.
I would just say this. All right, I do believe not all people should have the right to vote, just because of simple evidence that people don't know what's best for them, and if they perceive what's best for them as being bad, then it shouldn't be done, which is not in the best interest of the country, right? You shouldn't get tax cuts every 4 years. That's ridiculous, right? You shouldn't be going on wars every chance you get. That's ridiculous, right? You shouldn't be able to eat the sugars that's in your food. The FDA just passes this, right? The medicines that get approved, they got ridiculous side effects. That shouldn't be passed, right? So I mean, but if you tell these people, hey, this would be better for you, you'll be healthier, they'll tell you, well, I don't want to be healthier. I like it. That's what you need to do for me. But then you have your voters dying off and complaining about how sick they are, and I need health care. But we told you don't eat this stuff. Now you're sick. What do you want us to do? Get me health care now?
But technically, they didn't say don't eat this stuff because they approved it. So they said go ahead and eat this stuff.
They said it after the people wanted them to.
What they're saying is you can eat it if you're fool enough to eat it. That's what they're saying.
It's not even that. I mean, if the FDA declined all the stuff that they were supposed to decline, as far as approvals, drugs, food, and all that good stuff, people would be angry at the FDA. And the FDA would be like, well, this wouldn't be healthy for you. Why would we approve it? We like it. Cigarettes, anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I mean, let's not play games, man. The people of the United States is like women. They only see it positive from their perspective.
You can consume everything that's approved by the FDA. And you probably can consume almost, and you probably could be healthy consuming virtually everything that's approved by the FDA. The problem is the quantity. I might be able to smoke a cigarette a day or maybe a week or whatever for the rest of my life. I might be able to eat chitlins one time a year or whatever for the rest of my life. I might be able to consume a really cheesy pizza, once or twice a year or whatever. The problem comes with I gotta have that cheesy deluxe pizza every damn week. I gotta pour salt on every damn thing that I eat. The problem, from my perspective, is not really what's approved. I would put in the caveat of the effects of GMO and the artificial manipulation of things, especially in a group. Yeah, I mean, there is issues with the produce for sure. And I'm not saying there aren't. But from what I see, especially with black people, the biggest problem is not what we eating. The biggest problem is the quantity and the frequency of what we eating. That's the biggest problem that I see.
So Uru, you telling me I can't eat a whole platter of peach cobbler by myself?
Exactly.
Oh, Uru, I
Exactly.
pay taxes. I don't
And
know what you talking about.
there's like a 2 or 3 pound bag of sugar in
Uru, I
peach
pay my
cobbler.
taxes, Uru. I don't know what you
Exactly.
talking about.
Exactly. Well,
Amen.
then you have the right to have diabetes at 39. You have the
Yeah.
right.
Now, I'm one of the people who would sit down and drink a whole 2 liter with one meal.
Yeah, you have the right. You have
I
the
had to
right
let
to
that
have
go.
bad kidneys, when you're 45 years old. You're
Well,
right. You earn that right.
I let that go because I understood I got to make decisions that's going to make sure that I'm okay at the end of the day because ain't nobody else really looking to do it. But I mean, the government can't control what you put in your own body. I mean, so I wouldn't put that on them. My thing is the stuff that they are allowing us to use, is it okay? If it's okay, then I'm cool with it. Now, if they're allowing stuff that they shouldn't allow, there are some questions about that, because if you compare same products to countries overseas, there's just stuff that those countries won't even let the American products come in made the way they are made for Americans. They just
And
not
then
gonna let them come in.
in those
And-
countries, the government got more control over their people. Also,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All right. Well, we got Gyogami done came up, so let me let him get the mic. Gyogami, you have the flow, my brother.
Uh, Greetings to everyone. Thank you, Roger, for having me on the panel.
Greetings,
Uh,
brother. Greetings.
it will just be a short intervention, and it's to go along with what Black Wu was saying concerning his experience in politics. And I think Truth Teller was beginning to address the point, and it goes in line to what often Roger says, that when dealing with a woman, he doesn't care as much about what she has to say, because the woman doesn't have the responsibility of Roger. And Blackwood said something that when you enter politics, you begin to lose respect for the people, for the citizens, because they dump all their responsibilities onto you as the politicians. Don't you think, Roger, that in the eyes of the politicians, maybe they tend to see the masses part of the same way that someone could observe a woman who transfer all the responsibilities of her life onto the man, and then say, if you transfer all this responsibility to me as a politician or as a man, I cannot look at you as an equal, but necessarily somewhat as an inferior. And so in the eyes of the politicians, they would say, I have to take advantage of the situation because you do not dare to hold the reins of your own destiny. To play somewhat of a devil's advocate, if you can say,
Oh
in the
no,
eyes of the
that is
politicians.
a perfect Gyogami. That's a perfect description of what happens. Because what happens is when you start reviewing the comprehensive financial statement of the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois or the United States of America. By the way, all of these are free documents. All these are, in fact, probably all of them now are you probably can get online. So you can look at these documents. You can look at where the money's coming from, where it's going, what's in this particular fund, what sort of limitations is imposed on using dollars for this versus that. You can see how the debt of Chicago has been accumulating for generations. And so then when it gets to what's his name? Brandon Johnson or whatever the mayor's name is, and he's got this 9-figure budget hole That shit didn't wasn't created during his mayorship. That's generations in the making. That happened, for example, Roger, when Daley Jr. sold off the parking and the tolling to some foreign country about 20 some odd years ago. That's how you end up with that kind of deficit. So, but when you have read the documents and you've gotten involved in the political process, as Gayogami described, your level of sophistication about the cause of what you're seeing today increases, and then it's hard to then empathize with ignorant motherfuckers complaining about it today, with all due respect.
I do want to ask, does anybody know what the difference is between a democracy and a republic? Most people couldn't even tell you.
Most people don't know we live in a republic and not a democracy.
Correct. They just put democratic in front of it and suddenly we're a democracy.
Well, I thought the republic was where you had more choice of things, and a democracy
Nah,
was more like what's given to you.
it's the other way around, actually.
All right,
Yeah,
So
so
think of it
it's
this
about the
way.
voting power too. Democracy
Well,
is just whatever the
you
majority say. You screwed. You ain't with part of the majority.
well, I mean, it's the same thing. So democracy, you would be responsible for your vote on everything. There would not be an official going to Congress or the Senate representing your area. Your vote, you would be required for every decision that's made, right? And they dress this up saying we don't really want to do that because people are too busy living, which is ridiculous, but a lot of people believed it and they went along with it. Because you're too busy living, you ain't got time to make the decisions that's best for you, your family, and then other members of your society. Let somebody else do it. And when you let somebody else do it, how is one person gonna vote to the liking of hundreds of thousands of people, and depending on certain locations, millions? Right? You
and
just
with
live.
republic,
A
Republic is when
republic.
you have a representative. You have a representative putting in votes for you. But how does a representative represent a million people? Do
see
you
that's
think a
what we
million
live.
people
So
is
we
going to have the
basically living in a
same?
republic right now.
That's exactly true. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, sir. A
they're
democratic
supposed to.
republic.
A
A
democratic.
democratic republic.
They're supposed to represent the majority, but in any cases where they think, okay, these people are crazy and they don't know what they're talking about, they can vote against it anyway.
Well, Kev, look around. These niggas is crazy and they don't know what they talking about.
Yep.
But I mean,
I mean,
we all people always are crazy. Let's not get into it. It ain't like because modern times suddenly people been decided to do what's not in their best interest. That's how people are
Nah, but
by
true tell, I
nature.
mean, like the way you wouldn't have never thought this. You would. I would never thought I would see the stuff that I see now. Like
Yeah.
growing
But
up in the '80s
Such
into the
as
'90s
like
to the
what?
2000s to the 2010s to the 2020s. This shit is like it's crazy, and it's like, do
Give
these
me
people
give me an example.
like
Give an
the
example.
the free Palestine, gay rights in Palestine, people actually fight talking about gay rights and stuff like this, like um fighting. It's just bananas, like all this stuff. Like
Yo,
first,
you mean like ancient Greece, Athens?
yeah, like first you don't
You
trust
ain't,
the government. Now everything the government tells us is facts. First the media is horrible, but now everything they're telling us is factual. It's like people just all over the place with stuff.
I mean,
And I
that's normal political systems, man. That's not anything different. That's not a modern confection. Romans, the Turks, they all did it, man. Everybody's done it through the centuries. You manipulate the people you're pretending to serve for your own benefit. I mean, that's just what leaders do, especially leaders that have to represent large numbers of people, right? If you got to represent 1 million people out of a country, you don't even have the time to go to each one of those millions of people and see what they want. And hell, if you did find the time and you asked each one person of a million people, hey, what would you like? You'll get all kind of bananas responses from all these different people that ain't got nothing to do with improving the country or their area or their state. It's gonna be, hey, I like pink panties. You're gonna get chicks that say, I want pink panties to be legal. I want black ones to be illegal. And you'll get crazy stuff, man.
Well, I guess that's
That's
why we have a republic then. You know what I mean?
pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, in America, the powers that be figured out, you know, the best way for them to maintain and build control was both to feminize the country and to dumb down the country. So a lot of the fruitcake stuff that you're alluding to, Hope Tech, is a product of the feminization. You know, a lot of that is a product of the feminization, where you have more female control. They're more open to, all kinds of exotic sorts of behavior and presentation and feelings and emotions and they're somewhere around 55, close to 55% of the electorate now, right? So if they're the majority voter, you end up with more of this kind of stuff because the quantitative analysis says if I want to stay in office, I'm going to defer to this particular sentiment, at least certainly on the Democratic side. That it's a math issue. It's a math problem right now.
Well, that's why women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Do all that. Sorry, my bad. I was thinking out loud.
That's sold. That ship sailed already, man. That's gone.
Yeah, and it's going to get even worse because now women are starting to outnumber men, and we already know they can't make a decision on anything.
Well, hold on. This might not be a bad thing for the existing men, our sons and our sons' sons. That might not be a bad thing to live in that world because basically you got free reign after that.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be able to make. They shouldn't have choice over decisions being made in the world. Now, free reign over some coochie is a dope
No,
thing.
no. You missed the point. So think about it. Let's say the male population shrank by 50%. The female population stayed the same. So there's half as many men than there are women. So as we calculated the old population, it was 55% women, 45% men. But now instead of 45% men, it is now 22.5% men, right? So them 22% and a half men are now far more valuable than men were in the past because they can't do anything without these men. Now, what they're going to try to do? They're going to try to incarcerate these men? How are they going to do that? Are they going to try to force these men to do stuff? How are they going to do that? They need them to do things. Now, they can try to brainwash them, which is more than likely what they'll try. But I think there's enough play in the blood to obfuscate that. And suddenly now I realize I'm the shit. And she can't tell me nothing. Or what she going to do? Freeze in the winter? What's she going to do?
You think the Kryptonians can overthrow Themyscira, huh?
Nope. I think Themyscira's going to kill themselves.
Okay.
Kryptonians only have to lift a finger.
I don't know about that, Truth Shot. I understand what you're saying as far as the selection rights and all that, but as far as decisions being made in the world and what we should do with this and what we should do with that, this should have looked like a
Oh yeah, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah,
just so y'all know, I know y'all seen the stories where, and I said this like 2 years ago. I said this 2 years ago. What women should be afraid of, and what will happen when it starts happening. When men stop acknowledging their existence, it's gonna get real bad for them. And the first thing they're gonna do is attack the boys. I don't know about y'all, but it seemed like these child teachers and these minor attacks on boys is increasing, and those are gonna be the first victims. We got to make sure we protect the boys because they out here hunting. They are out here hunting. We got to make sure we protect them because if they're not getting it from us, they're going to get it from somebody. Don't matter if he underage or not. So we gotta make sure we protect the boys out here in these streets. And then after that, then and they just gonna die off, and we'll be good. But it's gonna be ugly before
Cause
then.
like I don't know if y'all seen that article, the feminization of America with the white lady. She's breaking down how crazy America has gotten since females have been get
Oh yeah,
their numbers have been growing in different realms of society. Man, that shit if you really sit down and that shit is scary.
One of the main points is the legal class. If you observe the composition of the new lawyers, I think now the about 60% of the law school, 65% of the law school graduates are women in the United States. In
Hmm.
other words, the next class of politicians and lawmakers are going to end up being women in the next what 25, 30 years.
Easy.
You won't have any place to escape.
Well, well, the women might legalize prostitution
They
because
not
that's
they'll look
gonna
at it
coming.
legalize
from a
That's
prostitution.
coming.
they'll look at it
That's
from a
coming.
female
It's
perspective.
They won't legalize it.
Thank you.
They will decriminalize it. And by
There we go.
decriminalizing, they won't punish the women, but they'll leave open under certain circumstances the ability to punish the men.
Right. The
That's what's
Johns.
happening in
Got it.
Cicero.
Johns. The John. It is.
Yeah, that's what's happening on
Well,
Cicero. That's what I'm telling you.
and not just the Johns. Any man who is in any way coupled with, supposedly benefiting from what she is doing, will be deemed a trafficker. And when it's to her convenience to bring that man down, if she wants to get away from him or she wants to punish him, he starts messing with somebody else. She can cry and say, I was forced to do this, and he's a trafficker, and he's committed a federal crime.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like that trafficking, like I don't think that even applies to black women. A black woman won't even listen to her husband, and she gonna get trafficked. I think the guys that like instead of a pimp, I think is more of a security guard. You know what I mean?
You know who do most of the trafficking of
Mexicans.
black Mexican of black
Say Uru.
other
Other
black
women.
women by far do more
Madams, people.
trafficking of
Yep.
women
Madams. They
than men.
arrange it. They organize
Well,
it. They set
I
up the
mean,
security.
and
Yep.
just what you now, madam is a formal term. I'm saying the older sister bringing the younger sister into the sugar baby
Mothers and the
game,
daughters.
or the cousin, right? It's a lot. It's you have that, certainly that part of it, truth teller, but more of it is this sort of relationship grooming of. Remember, there was a story a while back where there was a social worker who was encouraging this girl, and these girls were in hotels or whatever. These, I guess, were orphan girls, and she was basically, they had it on tape. I'm sure you could probably find it out here in YouTube, where she was basically encouraging her to sell her stuff. So you have a lot of that kind of stuff that's going on.
Roger did
The
a
older
Roger
girl,
did a video on
the
that.
18-year-old girl, senior in high school, bringing the sophomore in high school into the game, kind of stuff.
I think Roger did a show on that, and I think he did a show on the AKAs that was selling that thing on
That's
campus.
the other thing. That's another way. That's another way of doing these female associations, and they kind of, girl, we're gonna get with these rich guys, kind of thing at the convention, at the the IT convention kind of thing. the pipe fitters, the plumbers and pipe fitters.
We got the whole eighth floor. We got the whole floor.
Exactly. You got a lot of that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean,
so for them to make prostitution legal, straight legal, that would be knocking the females without the balls to do it out the game. And now why would you take a chick to dinner when you could just go to Cicero?
Right.
Exactly. Why go to BOGO when you could go to Cicero?
Right.
Well, they do things from the power they have too. Yeah. And I remember. Now I used to work right off Cicero too.
I know
Like
you did.
just
I
like
know you did.
two,
You
two,
used to,
3 blocks off
you used to
Cicero.
do a lot of things off of Cicero. A lot of things going on Cicero and
Hey
Roger
man,
Light.
it is what it is. It is what it is. I
Had
I
that,
I, I
Hey,
go to
Rod.
where the action at.
he had
Rod.
that photo of the Ville.
Bro, I used to have
Hey,
to go through
Roger.
the holes every night.
Roger, I'm from the West Side. And you and I know, like Tupac said, it's the best side.
Look, I went for an actual job, but to get to the job, you had to come. You got to come through Cicero to get to where the street would open up, so you can get to where the job was located. And I did overnight shift plenty of times over there. I literally walked through the holes every night.
Roger, remember
No,
the cemetery?
I'm keeping it real. While I
Remember
was
the
working
cemetery?
there, you literally had
Remember?
to walk
Do
past the
you
holes every night.
Wait,
do you remember?
was you collecting or you was just prospecting?
No,
Like,
I was working at a location got nothing to do with what they doing.
oh, all right. I thought you was cold talking. My fault.
No,
My
no,
bad.
It's cold calling.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But to get to where I actually worked, I had to come from Cicero, where the holes would be at. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, I know the game and I know the holes on Cicero at this point. When I picked one up, that was me young in the game. That's 18ish, 19ish, something like that. Where I'm driving late night on Cicero for some reason. I ain't know what the deal was. This time I'm working near Cicero, so I'm old enough and I know what the game is. I know where they at, and they all up and through Cicero. You know what I'm saying? Because one was on 43rd Street, the other one was I ain't gonna say exactly where, but it was a couple miles from 43rd Street, and you still had a ton of holes all throughout the game. So the strip on Cicero is extremely long. That's all I'm gonna say. It's an extremely long strip. But you had to go through the holes every night for me to get into where I work. So it's a very hoe dominant street. I'm gonna say it's a very hoe dominant street.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
Roger.
Roger, how you know all them details? How you know all them details and pick up? It's not
We believe you, Roger.
brother, I live here. That's all I'm saying. I live here. I gotta know something. Now, my thing is, I'm not tripping if they made prostitution legal. I wouldn't care. I think it'd be done better and more professionally at this point. You know, which is probably something they should do. But the fact that they don't make it illegal is they're trying to have a certain power dynamic over men, which means they're not in the best interest of Americans.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, let me tell you the truth. We are all living in the tyranny of pussies and tits.
Yeah. If they make it legal, then they could come to the whole institute, right? And they could get that $20,000 loan from the government, which they don't have to pay. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, they should, because if they make them do that, they go get a little certificate. You know what I'm saying? At least they'll be more educated on the ills of the streets and stuff like that. Not saying they're already not, but she'll be a little bit smarter. Get them registered with like a STD registry and stuff like that. They could really, they could really, like, not even all jokes aside, they could really do that. But it's like I don't.
Well,
I think
here's the other thing. The other reason why it likely never would be completely legalized is because you want to make it on their side of it. You want to maintain a certain level of negativity associated with the activity to to continue to artificially enhance the value of women who are not in the industry. If you just totally legalize it, then you can effectively depress the sexual value of the majority of women, and they don't want to do that. They never want to do that because, as I said earlier, they essentially use sex and sexuality to control, or have used sex and sexuality to control the majority of men. So if you totally legalize it, and it's just really sort of like a commodity, basically, wheat prices is whatever this today, and and then it changes in 15 minutes, where it's literally X number of millions of potential or actual holes, then the value of their services drop across the board. Of all the women drop. The relationships totally change. So they're not going to be motivated to do that. Like I say, they're going to protect the women right to use their sexuality to control you. That's what they're going to do.
And you got to remember too, women go to the easiest thing to do. So if it's straight legal, what you think Jasmine Crockett gonna do? She'd rather sell that thing.
You just go put Jasmine Crockett.
Go sell that thing.
I think Jasmine went to Harvard. I think maybe she.
Hold up now.
She wouldn't even
Hold up now. We ain't gonna be talking about that fine young thing like that. Now I'm gonna forgive Jasmine.
She wouldn't
I'm
even thought about Kev. She wouldn't even thought about going to Harvard. She would have went to whole institute, Technology Institute. Then she would have hit Cicero, and she would have been one of the greatest hoes ever known to mankind.
Oh wow.
I will personally rescue Jasmine Crockett from all the hold'em in all of America. Like, that's one sister. She's so fine. I'm gonna forgive her for anything, and I'm gonna keep her out of harm's way. No, sir.
Once you let that pig run wild, it turns into a wild boy in like 3 months. It start growing horns and everything.
And I'm gonna throw some water on his fire, bro. Some of these hoes we want to say, but we can't. They not gonna come with us. They not gonna sit at home. They not gonna just be a nice lady. They just don't want that life.
I'm giving Jasmine every opportunity. That's that boy. Look at him. I'm giving her every opportunity.
So you know what I mean?
Easy. But for real, y'all liking Jasmine like that? Yeah, is that? Is she y'all thing?
I like it. She my thing. That cosplaying ghetto. Yeah, that's my thing. That's my thing.
I'm not judging. I'm just asking.
She an average black woman. You catching Piggly Wiggly with some slippers on. She ain't nothing extravagant about Jasmine Crockett other than her education and her job.
I would say I probably would see her a bit different if I didn't hear her speak first.
Oh wow!
I think my problem is I heard her talk too much. Then I seen what she looked like.
Right. Yeah, I'm sort of ambivalent about her. It's hard for me to get past that hair, that whatever she's got going on top of her head. I think if I were not distracted by that, I have a clear sense of what I might think about.
But I'm gonna admit my faults in life. I am fully distracted by that thing, there, man.
But you gotta admit, like Uru, going off what you just said, that's how you sell it to the people who look for who's on the Democrat stuff. Like just like Kamala Harris, she knew what she did when she had Megan Thee Stallion twerking on stage. So Jasmine Crockett took a page out the book. She said, "All right, I got to ghettoify myself if I'm gonna be on this Democrat team." If she was a Republican, she'd be straight clean cut on some old Candace Owens, but just not as annoying.
Yeah. Well, the Republicans tend to like black women with like bad perms or some shit like that. I don't know what it is about. They kind of like black women, kind of like a struggle kind of thing going on top of the head. I don't know what that's about.
Wait, what was Condoleezza Rice?
Well, Condoleezza Rice has had that same hairstyle since like 1959.
But she was a Republican or a Democrat?
She was a Republican, yeah.
She was a Republican. Yeah, see, Republicans like clean cut black woman. Now, what they do at the bar, that's another thing, Uru. I understand what you're saying when you say they like a lopsided wig. That's what they roll around with in the back of them limousines.
Jasmine Crockett to get me to vote with Democrat again. I'm telling you.
Nah, Kev, she
Like you right, baby. You right.
The Muslim chick, I think that I think that Muslim chick from Ethiopia was prettier than Jasmine Crockett, and, and she don't talk a lot.
I,
Are you talking
I
about
be,
Ethiopia or the Somali?
oh, yeah, are you talking about Ilian
Omar.
Iman or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You
she
talking
was
about
cute.
Somali? I think she's Somali,
Yeah,
right? From
yeah,
Minnesota.
Somalian.
Yeah.
Yeah, she on Rogers' hit list making all that money.
Well,
Hmm.
That's
she's a divester now. She's
Yeah,
in
I heard.
delivery.
I heard. I heard.
I mean, she's
There you
Somalian,
go.
so that should be assumed. I ain't never heard of a Somalian marrying an FBA person. I ain't never heard of that.
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
Not
Cause
really.
in this
Not
crazy
really.
times we live in, I identify as a young Jewish man. So it is what it is.
yeah. We can work it out. We can work it out.
No, but let's get back more of the subject of the show. Because my thing is, these politicians seem to make a lot of money too. You know, that list. And I don't know how accurate that list is, but I'm gonna say this: the person who put the list together didn't sound American. They were talking from a perspective as if they were not an American. So this is probably just pooled information he put together. And when you got people making that type of money, and I'm not gonna say everybody made their money from politics, but it does seem to be the case that if you're a successful politician, regardless of your background, all of a sudden you seem to get very rich.
But the illest part of what you just said is it didn't seem like it was an American person that put that list together, right? But this is
Mm-hmm.
information. This is information that any average American could find,
There
and
you go.
the average American don't give a damn about these things, and that's the problem.
Well,
Nancy Pelosi been in
And
off.
that's why the politicians don't respect the average citizen because of what you just described.
well, I'm not gonna say that that's wrong because I know when I first found out that politicians usually become very rich people, I looked at that with the side eye myself. Like, if you in politics and you making these particular amounts of money, this sounded a little crazy. And then even with the amounts of money that they were making, I was like, this seemed a little high. That's what I'm gonna say. This seems a little high, you know. And honestly, to course correct, I don't think
It's not what they getting paid in the position that's the issue. It's the things that they're able to influence, things that they get advanced knowledge of. So it's basically legalized insider trading. The things that they're able to share with friends and family.
Yep.
Their ability to, because of their position, people will hire and contract with friends and family because Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. So anybody of any substantial connection to her is immediately in an advantaged position in terms of employment, in terms of contracting, in terms of consulting, in terms of any sort of not-for-profit activity. Everybody associated with her is in an advantaged position. It's all and it's all of the supporting staff and positions and et cetera associated with her position itself. That her college roommate grandson, get to be consultant of et cetera or whatever kind of bullshit connected to the federal government. It's all of that kind of stuff. That's how the real money is made.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and let me ask this, because you give a good perspective on how the politicians may not respect the people. Even with the lack of respect for the people, should they be able to? Is it okay that they could just treat the people's money any way they want to? Because to me, I honestly don't believe this much debt would happen if it wasn't for the fact that it's not their money.
Well, I ain't never known nobody to respect somebody's money that they don't respect the person.
Exactly. And if your mom send you to the store with a 20 to get something for $5 and she never asks for her money back, for her change back, what you gonna do?
Now, in theory, you would keep the $15. In
Well,
theory,
now you might give your mama her money back, but the question is, if some stranger gave you some money
Yeah,
and
great
told you to
example.
go get him a package, you don't give a damn about that stranger.
Yeah,
That's what you are to a politician. You're that stranger who gave that politician $100 to get you a pack of $10 cigarettes.
yeah. And you never asked about that 90.
you never asked about it.
Well, now, me, I'm just a person, I guess I just ask a little more than other people, because that's why I say from my perspective, I can't endorse Democrats nor Republicans because they've been in charge. Has stuff gotten better since I've been alive? Not really. No, from a political perspective, I don't think so. I think stuff has been worse since I've been alive. And then the only two people that's been in charge since I've been alive is Democrats and Republicans.
If I were, I mean, this is just me being cynical, but I don't know how I can view it any other way, given the setup and the history of this country. I don't really see much of any sort of scenario in which, certainly at the federal level, much would be done to the specific benefit of people like us. I don't think anybody is motivated to do that. And I think whoever might be interested or motivated to do something that would specifically benefit Black men, that person has almost zero chance to be in the position to actually do it. I mean, I just think the whole setup is, the whole history and the setup of the country is designed to extract benefit from especially from Black men, with the lowest possible return to Black men themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think because of that, you are usually going to be forced to picking the lesser of evils, because evil is the only option you have, or some gradation of evil is really and truly the only option you have. You are 6% of the population. You're 5% maybe of the American electorate. In what scenario does that triangle? If all of us were on one accord, all Black men were on one accord, it still would have very little. It could impact certain things in certain places, but then even those places are ultimately going to be impacted by even greater, more powerful interests. I mean, even if you have a majority or plurality of population in a city, the city is going to be impacted by what the state does, and then the state's going to be impacted by what the federal does. So, and let's say maybe if you're 30% or whatever the electorate in Chicago, but you're really only 11% of the electorate in Illinois, you're really only 5% of the electorate in the federal government. So it's just not a setup for you to really succeed in any sort of macroscopic way from the perspective of dealing with the political system. You almost have to sort of pick and choose some things that overlap with your interests and get whatever out of that you can possibly get. Be willing to do some horse trading if necessary, but it's not designed. The system is not designed for you as Black men to win. The population, the allocation of wealth, the makeup of the political system and the electorate, it's just not designed for you to win. And the history of the country itself is not designed for you to win here.
In layman's terms, you got to get in where you fit in, type of thing, right?
Generally, yeah, but even that, you have to be prepared. Yeah, I think Nameless, the great Nameless protagonist, described it best. You have to be a kind of a Mandalorian. You have to be kind of a free agent. I'm going to take something from here. I'm going to take something from there. Whatever works for my situation. And one minute I'm working for the Republic, next minute I'm working for the the Empire. I guess. I mean, you gotta organize your life in a way in which you can benefit from things that might change in circumstances that might change.
No, and see, I agree with that because I would never give any of these politicians, I'm never going to just give you my vote. I don't believe in that. Never have, never will. I just happened to come up at a time when the internet was starting to turn into a thing. So the very first election that I ever participated in, I started reading about the politicians on the internet. And I've been doing the same thing ever since. And that's why the only time I've ever picked somebody who won, I did vote for Obama the first time. He actually won. That's the only person that in the presidential election that I voted for and actually won. But my candidates don't win. And I'm going to say that. Now, I know people could say, what sound like you doing something that ain't smart. No, if you don't like what you have, why are you voting for what you got? I vote for people who ain't made it into office because I vote for what I like. I don't vote for somebody because, everybody else going to vote Republican or Democrat. No, I think we silly as Americans to vote for either one. If you attach to that party, it's one of the main reasons I'm not going to vote for you because you've been in charge. So I'd rather see what anybody else will do at this point. Green Party, cool. Constitutional Party, fine. Libertarian, whatever. Anybody but y'all. That's where I'm at with it. Anybody but y'all. Let me see if I can get a better result with anybody but y'all.
Well, and if you can get enough people to adopt that, sentiment, then that's a winning strategy. Historically, that's not a winning strategy, though. Historically, you either have a Democrat or a Republican president. You either have a Democrat or a Republican senator. You either have a Democratic or Republican congressman. You either have a Democrat or a Republican governor. You either have a Democratic or a Republican mayor. So I'm not making an argument against the concept of what you're saying. I'm just saying, from a practical perspective, that's a losing. It doesn't win. It doesn't work in America. And I question whether you will live long enough for that to ever be a winning strategy in this country. I think the country would almost have to really basically collapse just about to reform the political system. I don't think there's any slow or soft political reform. I think we would have to be, the dollar has completely collapsed and everything is up for grabs in terms of what we're going to do going forward. Then maybe you can actually have some meaningful debate about how the country should be run. But short of that, I just see you're either picking one of the guys you don't want to, or people you don't want to necessarily pick. You're picking somebody who has no chance of winning at all, or you're just abstaining from the process altogether, in which case you're just accepting whatever.
And I think you're probably right. I don't know if I live long enough to see people change in mass, but I do believe if every black man went the same way and we just voted for someone different, see, somebody got to wake people up. We don't have to have Republicans and we don't have to have Democrats. There's nothing in place that make me have to have them. It's just a bunch of people saying, well, one of them gonna win anyway. They only win because you voting for them. If you don't vote for them, they don't win. And as a person, I got to go to bed at night and be cool with my decisions. So me being cool with my decisions, I can't vote for these people. I see the type of nonsense that they be on, some of the stuff they stand for, and I can't vote for them. Now, if I don't get my way, Hey, that's y'all. It is what it is. But I'm not voting for people that I don't want in charge. That just makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? That's the issue of voting, though. You don't get to make all the decisions, but I do have to make a decision that I'm comfortable with. And the one thing I'm not going to do is have a track record of voting for people that I have a problem with. You know what I'm saying? So again, I didn't even vote for Obama the second time because, and I really voted for him the first time. It wasn't just because he was black, which people would just assume. No, it really because his political career was the youngest at the time. I figured he would be at the least corrupt at the time. Okay. Not knowing everything I know about his background now, I'm like, well, at least he can understand what a brother life is like. And because he was a constitutional professor, I knew he knew the Constitution, and I assumed that he would guide us more, a country overall back in that direction, because at least he knew it. He knew it so well. He was teaching it to people as a professor. So he didn't do nothing I wanted him to do really when he got in office, which
Yeah.
means I can't vote for him no more.
Well,
And that's all it was to me.
Well, remind me to never ask you for no lottery numbers, because you making some bad picks, brother. Because he ain't say nothing that made me think he was going to do anything or any of that stuff. Because he ain't even from he don't even walk. He didn't even walk down Cicero before.
I mean, bro, at the end of the day, that was, like I said, that was the first time. When he first got elected, we was giving him a lot of credit as being a black man per se, thinking FBA. If you really want to be real about it, people were thinking he was more of an FBA black man. That's what people was thinking.
Well,
He is not.
But let's be, in the first election, the banking system was collapsing. You had an aging John McCain who made, in a Hail Mary effort, had made a somewhat questionable vice president choice. It's interesting how nobody ever, when people do sort of the post-mortem on Obama, they never really talk about what were the better options than Obama during either 2008 or 2012. Was I forget his name. That's kind of how memorable he is. Romney. Were we so much overwhelmed by how much of a better president Mitt Romney would be? I don't recall that. I don't recall that. Do any of you?
Man,
So we talk about Obama as if he wasn't in a competition with other people.
Man, Obama smooth talked the draws off of America, man. That's what he did.
No, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying, what was the compelling alternative?
Well, we wouldn't have known.
Saying,
Even if we went back in time, we would probably vote for him again because, like you said, it seemed like he was the better choice. But when we look at it in a historical context, as a heterosexual man, I didn't vote for him the second time when he aligned himself with the LGBTQ community. I knew he was going down the wrong path. And then when you go into the history of it and you kind of tear it apart, like maybe we should have voted for Romney, but that's hindsight. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, and he did misrepresent himself on that issue, because when he ran initially, he had this much more traditionalist stance on that issue. He kind of kept, I guess, in hindsight, kind of kept quiet what his true views were on that issue. I guess.
That's why I say he's smooth talk the draws off of Black America.
Well, I'm gonna say we automatically gave him credit as an FBA man, and we didn't check. And that was on us at the end of the day. But that's part of Americans not really being politically savvy. Because I should have checked. You know what I'm saying? I can't blame the fact that I didn't check on him. Because
Obama was one of the real reasons why the whole FBA and ADOS thing came about. because we started realizing just because somebody's all skin folk, all skin folk ain't your kin folk. Like we really realized that after that Obama thing. Like
Yeah.
when
Guess who
homeboy
tried to
was
tell us
asking where his
though?
birth certificate was, and we was all up in
Yeah.
arms. Oh, they racist. Like, nah, he not us. He not us. That nigga birth certificate would have been somewhere in Chicago.
Well, I mean, my thing is that's the good that came from it. You know what I'm saying? That hopefully people start paying attention more. But as I say, and my main thing is now I didn't research him as heavy as I normally would, or I would have knew all that before I even voted for him the first time. He'd never got my first vote. But because what did I just say? Since I was 18, the internet had already turned into a thing. I would just go on the internet and research candidates and then vote for whoever I wanted. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think I was really watching the debates and all that. I wasn't even really watching those back then. I was voting for people based on what they said they did, or they said they gonna do, and stuff they had done in the past.
To be fair and accurate, Obama was an excellent presidential candidate.
He was
very polished. He was very presidential in his presentation. He had a record of speaking out against. See, again, this is where we got to be clear and honest about what we were talking about. A huge part of the element, in addition to the banking issue, a huge part of why Obama became president, a huge part of why he won the Democratic nomination was because he was on record for being against the Iraq War. That's why he beat Hillary in the Democratic primary to begin with.
Oh, okay.
So we talk about him like, oh, good, Obama. How could we ever even thought of? How could we ever even support it? And I'm like, okay, y'all were grown back then. Don't y'all remember what was happening back then?
If we were honest with ourselves to support Uru's point, knowing what we know today, if we could put our minds back in our bodies the first time he ran, we still wouldn't believe he turned out to be what he turned out to be. He was that smooth.
Yeah, you wouldn't have saw it coming. But I'm gonna say,
but people were making this. See, it's hard to say that without considering the fact that motherfuckers was losing their homes and businesses were crashing and shit because of what the Republicans had done.
And he turned the economy around. Because the economy was in the crapper.
GM was almost out of business. Ford was almost out of business. So, it's okay to say, man, we don't like the fact that he legalized all the sword swapping.
Sword fighting.
Yeah. It's okay to say that, 15, 16 years later, while people were losing their jobs and their homes and businesses, and there was some question about there was going to be a complete economic collapse of the country. Obama seemed like the only logical decision to make then.
Yeah,
I mean, that is true, and even white folks was voting for that man.
Yeah.
I mean, landslide type of voting was going on, and we really had got to the point of just like in the biz when the business collapsed, and they're like, "Well, let the nigga do it." That's really what happened in America. America literally said,
to some degree what it was about. Shit, it was going to fall apart anyway. We may as well let the nigga take
let that nigga do it. That's exactly what it was. If you ask me,
this was their strategy was let's let the first nigga in office, because if he doesn't turn this shit show around, our policy from now on can be like, see, niggas can't run the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
And the truth is, if Obama were a white man, with everything that happened and the condition of the country when he left, he would be considered fucking almost George Washington.
Yep.
I mean, that's true. That is true. He still didn't get my vote the second time, but that is true.
No, I'm just saying white people would.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Him just about George Washington.
I'm agreeing with you because I still remember being at my buddy's house witnessing this black president that I never thought I was going to see in my lifetime. So I remember witnessing that, and I remember how that vote was coming out. So, it wasn't just black people voted. America voted for him. He won in a slaughter. That was a slaughter.
But I'm not just talking about the election. I'm saying when you consider what the state of what the country was when he took over, and what it was when he left, he would be considered one of the greatest presidents we've ever had if he was a white man.
No.
Right.
I totally agree with that. I'm just saying the country was in such bad shape that the entire country, I'll say the collective of the country, said, let the nigga do it. Let him try to solve that problem. And it's only because they still see him as a nigga that because he went and quote unquote solved the problem that he ain't celebrated like he's watching. So I'm agreeing with you totally. I'm agreeing with you totally.
They gave that nigga the coaching job for the New York Jets. That's what they did.
Yeah, and you do make a good point because, I don't know all the NBA players now, but I know back in the day, this would have been like Jordan playing Dennis Scott of the Orlando Magic back in the day. And if y'all don't remember who Dennis Scott is, that's my point.
I remember who Dennis Scott is, but that's a good point, though.
No, he was a good player, actually. That was a good team.
He actually had a nice shot, but a very good point, sir.
So yeah, like you talking about D3, right?
Yeah,
D3. No, if Shaq hadn't left,
no.
They might have passed the Bulls, man.
I'm not saying a team. I'm saying if it had been Jordan versus Dennis Scott, a 1-on-1. Ain't nobody you ain't finna bet that Dennis Scott finna win with a 1-on-1 with him.
Not a 1-on-1.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's what Obama was like up against his competition because you don't even think about his competition. So I'm saying your point was extremely valid because his competition was so poor when you look at the two together. You know what I'm saying? It's almost impossible not to vote for Obama at the end of the day. But Obama helped me become much more politically savvy because once he got in, and he really got in as an FBA man, because we didn't even have those terms back then. He definitely made me do my research. You know what I'm saying, for the second one, and that's why I couldn't vote for him the second time.
But that's what I'm saying. They would never let an African American man be no president.
Well, that's exactly what they did. If you want to,
no. I'm talking about a descendant of slavery.
FBA.
That nigga is never getting close to that shit.
Yeah, he's saying FBA.
Yeah. If everybody would have known he was an FBA, that I believe truly would have changed it would have changed the dynamic possibly. And but the country was in a bad shape. 2008 was hitting people hard. You know what I'm saying?
When you're FBA, you're a living. When you're FBA man, you're a living symbol of the lie of America, going all the way back to 1619, and that's a lie they do not want to see on the throne of America. No, they don't want to see that particular truth of this country ascending to that position.
Imagine Black Uru president. Imagine BGS president of the United. What?
And the thing is, there's going to be so much about our background and our history that's going to be, like I said, my mother was a sharecropper. My mother picked cotton. That's too damn close.
To having a slave running the country.
Yeah, that's too damn close.
And then they're gonna remember you was over on Cicero in 76.
Oh, you remember Rob?
They gonna put all kinds of shit out because he's African American.
Yeah, they can't let you leave with the Cicero visits.
And nigga, so and I knew, like, I was in Harlem when they was doing it. It was like in Harlem, man, it was a whole. You could feel the proudness in the air, and that's when I was on my my conscious community shit and all that. And I felt it. I said, this nigga can't be one of us because they would never let this happen. And everybody was like, man, shut up, Dylan. I was like, all right, B, okay. But I
This
know
nigga,
these people. They don't mess with us.
yeah, nigga, drink a beer and smoke one. You crazy? You crazy?
Yeah, that's what they.
Three.
Because I was smoking weed back then. You smoke too
Well,
much
look,
weed. You on your conspiracy theories.
Obama is one of the most talented social political people, social Americans, I think, who's ever lived, by far. In fact, I don't think there's any American politician who is as talented as he is. I don't think anybody's close. I don't think Kennedy was close. I don't think Clinton was close. And this is what I mean. Obama can walk in any room, in any group of people, and adapt to it. Any group of people. He could connect with European aristocrats, and he can come down to 49th Street. I mean,
right on Cicero.
He was very or Cicero.
Right on Cicero.
Madison Avenue, over there on California.
He
over that area.
He wasn't on Cicero. He was on Cicero.
Well, that's another subject. But he I like him too. This is the old Marvel term. If you read the comic books, especially back in the day, I referred to him as the super adaptoid. If you read the comic books, Marvel comic books going back to like the 70s or whatever, this was this android who could assume the powers of anybody he was associated with or connected to.
Nimrod.
And Obama has that kind of quality. Obama can debate,
He's talking about a Magoid.
He could debate constitutional law, and he can come and steal your girl. He can he can debate, Plato's Republic, and he can shoot 3-point shots.
Yeah, like
I say, he's a fucking super adaptoid.
You can't take nothing from the man. Like you can't definitely. I understand what you're saying. Like you real recognize real, and you got to give him his props on all of that.
Yeah.
Like because you just put it in a different perspective for me. Like that I can definitely agree. Like the man smooth. I remember when he sang that Marvin Gaye song. I was like, this nigga here.
Even the people who hated him acknowledge how fucking smooth he was.
Yeah, he was that dude.
Yeah, when I did that story about when he was voting, I put that clip in when dude was like, "Don't be up on my girlfriend."
Yeah, dude was backing on dude's girlfriend when he was voting. And she was giggling, and he TTT, and I'm like, oh man, that's wrong.
Yeah, the best move. I give that. And plus, I do actually give him credit. He did actually give us what he said he would. He said he'd give us hope, and he said he'd give us change. He gave us both. So I can't even say he lied. You know what I'm saying? It may not have been the hope that you want. It may not have been the change that you wanted, but he gave it to us. So I give him credit on that one.
Yeah, so. And he did look out, like you said, do the politicians look out for the Americans? He looked out for the American people that looked out for him. You know what I mean? They got their rights. They doing better than black people in America. If you say I'm not black and you just say I'm straight up LGBTQ, then black, you get more stuff than a black person.
Yeah, that's the new civil rights movement.
So it's like black people probably if we put all of this money that we spend on and all of these rappers doing all this dumb stuff, if we probably put I'm not saying it will it can happen, but if we put our money behind somebody, you know what I mean, the Jay-Z's and these guys put that money behind, maybe we can have a person up in there that's like, well, these are the people that looked out for me, let me at least give them something.
Yeah, well, We back to bribing politicians again. But
That is the game, Roger. That is literally the
no,
game.
I'm not even tripping. I'm not even tripping. What I'm gonna do is let some closing statements go out if somebody want to make a closing statement, and then I'm gonna take care of some tasks. So anybody want to get a closing statement in here?
Yeah, I'll go.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, if you want some change, you got to get your money up. You got to be ready to lobby for your group, not everybody else. Stop being the mule for everybody else. Stop championing the cause of multiple groups. You represent yourself in your own group. You have to operate within those limits and parameters. Don't be loyal to no politician or quote unquote political parties. And last but not least, make sure that you always have pictures and videos of these heifers in bed with little underage girls and little boys, and have a list. Okay? Thank you very much.
Hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
Anybody
and
else?
also,
Uh,
don't go on Cicero streets.
No, we ain't doing that.
No,
We ain't
you
doing that.
got to get it together.
I am for $29.99. I am selling the Cicero Street Bunny Ranch playbook. If anybody needs a playbook and want to get their bunny ranch started, contact me at the Roger Report Live.
Yeah. And I want to say, like, one time I was arguing with a person and she said, black people are not a monolith. And that's the problem. I think black people, yeah, we could have different ways we want to live our life. But when it comes to getting our shit, getting what we deserve and getting what we want out these politicians, we have to be a monolith. Because when it comes to white supremacy, they are a monolith. When it come to putting their foot on the nigga neck, they are a monolith, and we have to be the same thing. Like 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 Kryptonite said, we can't be fighting for gay rights and then fighting for Palestine and fighting for this and fighting for that, and then we not fighting hard like we doing those things for things that black people as a whole need. And until we become a whole on our political and politically, we don't deserve nothing from nobody.
okay. Okay. Uh Blacker, you was about to say something too?
Yeah, I think you have to be honest about the logistics of the situation. I mean, we can't really rely on black women, not in any meaningful, substantial way. So, and like I said, we're less than 6% of the electorate. So, unless you can, you know, be almost magical or like, like Professor Xavier in terms of being able to get into the minds of others and be able to persuade them to think and do something that you would want them to do. I just don't see the political system being set up for black men to really win in it. Like I say, I think the best approach is this sort of Mandalorian kind of thing. Let me see what I'm doing. Let me hopefully find something that somebody who can actually be in office uh, is positioned to increase the possibility of that happening, and then you lend your vote and maybe your resources to that. But I don't. Other than that, I don't put much hope into it. Now you also have the option yourself of running for office, and I think more black men should at least experience attempting to become a politician, get some real sense of how the system really works, and get some insider information on maybe how you and yours can benefit from the status quo. But I don't see us as individuals and even as a collective being able to really turn the tide in the current environment. Like I said earlier, if the system were to collapse, then I think that would be a better opportunity for some reform that might be to the benefit of Black men. And that's all I have to say about it.
All right. And I just want to throw out there, if you ever gonna think about running for political office, do it. If for no other reason but to stun on your friends, just do it. Okay. We definitely need Black men more involved in politics. Real talk. Plus, it is something you can really stun on your friends about. They'll help you even, try to get in. Maybe you actually get in. That ain't gonna be a bad thing if you actually get the office. And if you don't get the office, you get the experience that comes along with running for the office. So either way, it's gonna be good. I'm pretty sure the people around you gonna respect you a whole lot more at the end of the day. And what's a Black man with too much respect? You ain't never seen one of those, have you? Ever seen a Black man with too much respect? I have.
Obama.
I guess I'm gonna stop my speech right here.
My bad. I'm sorry.
That was too easy. That was too easy. But it is something, y'all, we should think about. Real talk, and we do need some FBA men to represent us, because I'm gonna say, based on some of the stuff I'm seeing, it's plenty of other people that's Black who believe that FBA shouldn't really have a say so, and it's better for them to run things instead of us. That is a sentiment that's out there amongst some other people. So you do what you want to do with that information. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Long live the Habitual Line Steppers. I appreciate everybody who came up. I'm Roger. I'm right. And I'm out.